I'm with you on that one, everyone. Let's take a quick look at everything that happened day one of SMITE World Championships.
Friday was the first day of the SMITE World Championship, a 3-day endeavor for 8 teams. We started with those 8 teams and we've whittled it down to just 4. Here's how it went. Rival took on Sanguine, the Latin American minor league representatives. They surprised a ton of folks making it here, but unfortunately they surprised nobody by losing to Team Rival 2-0 in the direction of the Purple Hoods. Following them, Dignitas versus Pittsburgh. Although this team really is not at full potential, they still steal a game. Unfortunately, it's a best of 3, and Team Dignitas take the set. After the halftime show, we saw Splice take on SK Gaming. They are on track. They're the defending world champions, but they do not take it home. SK Gaming, the placement team, are able to find the victory here. And honestly, some of these games were not close. SK Gaming are on a tear. They're a team to be reckoned with. The day ended up with Renegades versus E-United. Renegades take the victory. Game 1 was E-United's direction, but Game 2 was anything but. Slapped in the face and shoved into a locker. E-United had to recover in game number 3, but it was tough. It was all about Renegades. They take the set, and they move on to semifinals. That leaves us with our semifinal matchups. Rival, Dignitas, SK Gaming, Renegades. It's all about the action.
Welcome back to the Alienware Lounge, everyone. It is day 2 of the SMITE World Championships. Joining me here, Zeros, Anatoly, and Ionic. Gentlemen, day 1 was pretty crazy. What do you think was the biggest surprise out of day 1, Anatoly?
I mean, obviously, there was no bigger surprise than SK trumping the defending champions, Splice.
I'd like to see who out of here had SK winning over Splice. All right. Well, let's take a quick look at the bracket that we're going to be seeing here today, everyone. It was an intense day 1, of course, but the 2 semifinal matches that we're going to be seeing, Team Rival versus Dignitas, and of course, SK Gaming versus Renegades.
That's going to be a very interesting one, that second set, because of the whole history there, right? Like, Satman as well needs to find 1 championship for himself. It's been a little bit too long. I'm rooting for him.
I'm more excited about the first set. I think we have Dignitas. Arkkyl played on Dignitas too, right? So there's 4 teammates going against each other there. So I think I like the first set better.
Well, then let's talk about that first set. Indeed, everyone. Rival versus Dignitas is going to be a best of 5 set. Rival, the only team that didn't have to go to a game 3 yesterday. Ionic, what were they able to retain? What did they show their hand yesterday? Did we see all out of Rival that we could see?
I don't think we really saw enough out of Rival that other teams are going to be able to prep for them extremely hard. Sanguine, while they are a strong team, Rival was able to hold back a lot of picks, and I think mainly their strategy was just focus on around the soul lane, focus around Mike, and see if you can make plays there.
Now, Zeros, one of the things that I would really like to talk about is that Arkkyl was actually on Dignitas last season. What is it like when you have a member of your own team be a part of the opponents?
I mean, it can be some bad blood, but I'm pretty sure Arkkyl and his former teammate from Dignitas, they're on really good terms. So I think whoever wins, they're going to be happy for each other.
Yeah, I think whenever you play against a former team, whether you split off amicably or not, you always want to win. You always have a little bit of extra fire.
It's going to be a lot of mind games once we do go into the picks and bans.
Well, it looks like we are going into the picks and bans right now, everyone. Anatoly, going right into it, what are some of the first bans that we're going to have to be seeing here?
We're going to have to see a Cercat ban. The way PBM played the Cercat with the Sunder as well was so aggressive and really stopped Sanguine in their tracks yesterday.
Yeah, Rival actually first banned the Persephone yesterday as well against Sanguine. That's something that we saw Hurriwind play all 3 games. So I'll be interested to see if they're able to give Hurriwind the Persephone or if they're going to take it away.
Yeah, you're talking about the Cercat ban for PBM, but what about the Horus yesterday? We know PBM loves running the upgraded Sunder level 1, and Horus is just as good as that as Cercat is, so I don't know, man.
Yeah, to me, PBM is just such a hard player to ban out. He plays so many characters. He's always going to have an aggressive selection available to him because 3 bans is not enough.
I'm surprised about this Freya ban coming out for Dignitas right here. We did see Arkkyl pick Freya twice yesterday, a very safe pick for Arkkyl.
Now, the thing about the Freya for Arkkyl yesterday was it didn't feel like that was the reason that we saw his team succeed at all.
Yeah, a little insight into the mindset of a team preparing for another team. If you see somebody play something 2 or 3 games in a row, it's maybe not necessarily about their impact, but about their comfort on that pick. Maybe you get him on a pick that he's a little bit more uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't know. He didn't have that much impact, as you said, but Freya gives you so much early pressure, and Rival loves the early pressure. So I think Freya's just a perfect pick for them. So I don't know. I think the Freya did have a lot of impact overall.
Yeah, we've also seen Arkkyl kind of struggle on the Chronos in the past, especially at land. So Freya is another option, magical option for him to pick up. That's a good ban here.
Well, we definitely saw a lot of Jing Wei bans going up against Ataraxia. This time, Rival neglecting that.
They let him have Jing Wei? I mean, and another pick, Zero, says something that you were talking about, that you don't think Persephone really needs to be banned. We did see them pick Persephone 3 times yesterday, but why do we see her banned right out?
I mean, as you said, I don't think you have to ban Persephone. She's really good, but I don't think she's that much over the top. But then again, they played it 3 times yesterday, so obviously he really likes it. So I understand him taking it away just because it's a comfort pick.
Yeah, game 3 on the Persephone, Hurriwind was very comfortable, going about 2-0-9 that game, going really untouched, and it just had a lot of presence in these team fights.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see this Ullr picked up for Rival go into Arkyl's hands, actually. He might be looking for an aggressive selection. That could also go over to PandaCat if they want the pressure in mid.
Yeah, as I said so many times, I think Paul and Arkkyl are the 2 premier Ullr players in the league, so I want to see Arkkyl on the Ullr here.
Yeah, PandaCat as well, playing Anhur yesterday, so we could potentially see this Ullr go to him. He was feeling himself a lot against Sanguine, a minor league team, sure, but who's to say he's not going to play aggressive against Dignitas?
Now that Persephone's banned, I'm expecting Hurriwind to go over to either the Kukulkan or the Merlin. I'm thinking most likely Kukulkan, but it looks like they're going to save his pick for the bottom 2 here, which they didn't do at all yesterday.
Yeah, this Achilles pick also kind of interesting because it's super early, but it's a big flex pick too, right? I know for a fact that CaptainTwig can play it in the jungle. fineokay has played it a lot of times. He has one of the highlight plays of this whole year, I think, with the quadra kill he had. So, and I mean, maybe PBM would like it too. It is a heavy early game support, pressure pick, right? So maybe PBM would like it too.
I think it's a solid pick no matter what role you put it in as well. SK Gaming yesterday playing the Achilles, or at least transforming into the Achilles as Morrigan, had a lot of success with some of the recent changes to his basic attack range. We're going to see Achilles probably more earlier than later.
Yeah, something interesting to note here is that Amaterasu, generally considered a first pick, first ban character for a lot of these teams, has gone completely unpicked or banned. So it looks like neither of these teams are putting a lot of value on Amaterasu. I know Dignitas doesn't for sure, but it looks like Rival isn't either.
Really surprising to see this Fafnir actually because of how aggressive PBM has been playing yesterday on the Circuit, on the Horus. Fafnir, more team fighting objective based as opposed to the early pressure.
Yeah, it is a lot more. It's not as much early pressure as the god we usually see PBM on, but also Fafnir, really good with upgraded Sunder, right? You throw the upgraded Sunder and stun after, and it's a lot of damage, so I think it's pretty good anyway.
Yeah, like you were talking about, Kelly, Rival was actually able to hide a lot of their picks here. I think what we might be able to see coming out from them here is a double hunter strategy with the Fafnir. That coerce is going to be really powerful, and we always talk about objective shred. How fast can you do the objectives? Double hunter plus Fafnir, probably the fastest out there.
And now with the Fafnir being selected, this leads me to believe that we're going to see a magical hunter out of Arkkyl, right? Like Ullr, I think, is a good pick coming for Rival next.
I'm not sure about that. I think the only team that can actually play double physical hunter in all of SPL is Rival. And I'm not sure if they've ever lost when they had Arkkyl on a physical hunter and PandaCat on a physical hunter. So Twig might just play a magical jungler here.
There's
Looks like it's going to be the double hunter here. And that means that CaptainTwig, we're most likely going to see him on a magical jungler, something like the Hebo or the Poseidon. I think I'm expecting Hebo here.
We did see him pick Hebo yesterday as well, so that wouldn't be too much of a surprise, especially with the Athena ban coming out for Dignitas.
Yeah, going for Hebo in game number 1 against Sanguine. CaptainTwig ended that game at 8-1-7, a part of 15 of his team's 18 total kills.
That Pele on Quvo is going to be devastating, especially with Jing Wei on Ataraxia. I'm kind of liking this dig comp so far.
Yeah, I don't know though. It's Jing, she's kind of passive early game, and then you have Arkkyl on this Ullr. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if Ullr really takes advantage of this matchup.
Susano
being hovered right now. But keep in mind, we were talking about magical options for CaptainTwig. Poseidon, definitely a hard counter.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, it's pretty surprising. I don't think we've seen Susano picked all tournament. People have been favoring the Mercury, the Hunbats.
And you called it. That is Habwa now being picked for Rival there. Gentlemen, these two comps, what are your thoughts?
I think we see Hurriwind on the Kukulkan here. I guess Anhur in mid is going to be pretty rough. Like Anhur can just place down the pillar and start ulting, right? Kukulkan has slow immunity on his 2, so he can wiggle out of it, but no dashes or anything. Hurriwind's going to have to be really careful here.
Rival's composition, high risk, even higher reward here. I love it in terms of the damage potential, but it could almost kind of backfire if they don't get off to a great early start.
Yeah, kind of 2 different styles, 2 different comps here, but both I would say equally as strong in the late game. One's relying on the auto attack damage from the double hunters, whereas the other is looking for the setup for the Kukulkan to really do all the damage in the team fights.
You know, I've been asking you guys your opinion, but I actually want to ask the audience's opinion. Who has Dig winning this game? Who has Rival? Gentlemen, it's already too late to go into it. Let's go into game number 1.
Thank you, Kelly. It is indeed time for game number 1 of your semifinals on day 2 in Atlanta. Are y'all ready for some SMITE? Let's hear some noise in DreamHack because we're about to kick it off. And Ryan, what a game this is, right? Dignitas and Rival. And this is where Dig fell last year in those semifinals. They were right here. Trixtank and QvoFred, they get so close all the time. But can they finally get over this hurdle?
I mean, they've got that motivation I think that they need, having Ataraxia say that this is his last season in the SPL, a mainstay in the league, his whole career at the top of Europe for the entirety of it, but he's never won a world championship.
Yeah.
He's come close twice. He's finished in second twice. Is season 6 his final year, the time that he needs?
And he's been doing it for a long time, man. One of those times you're mentioning is way back at Worlds 1, right? With that Titan run that he was able to go on. So this has been a long time coming for Ataraxia. He's able to get there. But what a hurdle that stands between them in this team Rival roster. They feel so poised and ready. And that first set for them up against Xing, as looks like CaptainTwig is able to grab that speed buff despite the aggression from Trixtank. That game yesterday where they're able to come in and play cleanly and put Xing to bed, that showed me that this Rival team is locked in. This is not the same team that lost in MSI.
It's also the game where they were able to bounce back even after a really good Xing performance in game number 2, that they still were able to look focused. fineokay had an incredible game. He and CaptainTwig really combined very, very nicely on the Osiris and Athena combination. That's something that I'm looking for from Rival here today, is that continued level of teamwork and camaraderie. They've been showing it since day 1, despite having a roster that has a bunch of different pieces that all came together from different regions.
Exactly right, man. They seem ready and hungry. So do Dignitas across the way, of course, as we do have a pause coming out. We're going to make sure everything is sorted out here for all these players. But the storylines, I mean, I was talking about this earlier today, man. All 4 of these teams have great storylines coming into these semifinals here. Can Raffer get it done on another team there for Renegades? Can Zatman for SK finally get that world championship win? What about Rival? Can this squad get together and bounce back after a tough loss they had earlier in the season? Then Dignitas finally getting QvoFred and Trixtank there. I mean, it's hard to pick one of these teams to root for. Everyone has such a sick story coming in.
I know, I was talking to some fans earlier, and it's like, yeah, you know, it would be really cool if Rival won to get CaptainTwig to the finals and get him his first finals victory. But they've got to go through Ataraxia and Qvo and Trix, who feel the same way. And on the other side, I mean, what a Cinderella story it would be for SK to make it all the way out of placements and make a run towards that world championship to lift the hammer. And how about Renegades, their season, they get here late, they're able to turn it around, dominate MSI. We're going to have a good world champion, one way or the other. And I think we're going to have good games along the way, and I think that's all we could ever ask for.
It really is about the most that you could want here at this point, as we're working towards getting these players back into that match. So let's talk a little bit then about this matchup in particular. I think there's a lot to keep your eyes on with Trixtank and PolarBearMike here in this match in particular. So much of Rival's success is dictated by the direction that PBM takes, is his head in the game. You hear a little bit about that's part of what went wrong in MSI, right? That maybe he checked out a little bit after that early rough start for them. They not just locked in the game, but locked in as that in-game leader for them as well.
And I think he looked as good as he's looked his whole career yesterday. And that is a scary sign for Dignitas and for whoever might end up playing up against Rival should they advance. PBM is the leader of this team. Where he goes, Rival goes. And is that a little bit unfair to put a lot on his shoulders?
Sure.
Probably. Would he want it any other way? Probably not. The dude lives for these moments, and I think that he's going to step up. He looked phenomenal yesterday, and I'm expecting more of the same today.
Yeah, World Championships don't come easy, man. I mean, as Splice, that was the top team coming in here, and they haven't even made it here to the semifinal round. We've already said goodbye to them. Across the way, though, Trixtank, his opposition on the other side there for Team Dignitas, also has a lot here on his shoulders, man. I mean, at this point, Dignitas kind of have a reputation of not being able to get the job done at LAN, and I know that's something that those guys want to overcome. I talked to them in an interview about it, and I was like, you guys kind of have a reputation as LAN chokers. They took exception to that, man. They do not see that as themselves. They want to come in here, prove everybody in this building wrong, and grab this win.
I mean, last year they finished top 4. They get to the semifinals. That's an incredible year. I agree that I understand where they're coming from, where they don't want to hear that storyline anymore. I think that they are well-reasoned in their decision-making on how they got to that point, feeling like they don't deserve that title anymore. And Trixtank yesterday, I'll be honest, he had me nervous with game number 1. As did all of Dignitas, frankly. I did not like the way they looked in game 1 and frankly for the majority of game number 2. But their ability to turn it around, their game 3 was squeaky clean. The second half of game 2 was really good. And just like Rival was able to show a little bit of resiliency yesterday, show that they're able to bounce back from a little bit of adversity, I think Dignitas did the exact same thing. And you need to have that if you're going to make a World Championship run. There aren't the sweep the entire bracket sort of setups these days.
No.
The league's too good. You need to show that you're able to bounce back when you get behind the 8 ball. And I think that Trixtank as an individual and Dignitas as a team did that very well yesterday.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, the Knights look way better than I thought they had any right to. Deathwalker looked comfortable in the mid lane for them. Ro, I was thinking coming in, all Ro had to do was not be a liability. He was way beyond that, wasn't he? Ro looked like another contributing member of that Knights team. So I agree Dig stumbled a little bit, but against a much better opponent than I think a lot of us would have thought in that Knights roster. So both these teams certainly testing their mettle in making it here this far. And it doesn't get any easier. Who's waiting on the other side for whoever wins this bracket? It's either Renegades or SK, and SK right now might be the scariest team you can face. They already beat Splice.
Red hot. I mean, just insanely good performance from them yesterday. I think that that's a team that everyone is now paying attention to, what they were able to execute yesterday, and the way that they did it with some different styles of play. Game 1 was a little bit rough for them, of course, but as soon as they got back to their usual tenets, Paul on a pressure pick in mid, getting to the enemy red buff. Zatman plays 2 different gods to a very, very high level in Raijin and the Morrigan. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do in our second semifinal.
And I'm excited to get us back into the action. Game number 1, barely underway. Now, one thing to note is that buff control pretty heavily did favor Team Rival on the back of their first spawns. You can see 2 speeds, 1 for Twig, 1 for Mike. So those invades certainly bore fruit. The first rotation, not the end of the world. Keep an eye on if they're going to keep that pressure up.
And the big thing to note is this XP per minute that's on the left side of your screen right now, and where Qvo is in comparison to CaptainTwig. He's behind a noticeable amount, but it's not by a catastrophic amount. We'll see some junglers down 100 XP per minute even by this point in the game. So even though the buff control doesn't go Dignitas' way, Qvo's able to find consistent farm. And remember, invades aren't worth as much as your own buffs, especially in the early game. So Dignitas do a good enough job of getting something going in their favor. But you're right, these next few respawns are going to be absolutely critical.
And one more thing that I want to ask you about in particular, Ryan, is this Hunter versus Mage matchup in mid. Because we've been seeing a huge trend of the cooldown boots, do more, mages back in mid. But so far at this tournament, Hunters against mages has really favored these Hunters. Do you think we should be seeing more of this Anhur and picks like that?
Probably. I think it's also noteworthy that a lot of the teams that just want to play that style really excelled yesterday, and they played well around those Hunters mid. I don't think that we shouldn't see any mages. I quite like the Kukulkan pick for Hurriwind. It's a classic pick for him, and we saw how potent it was in Snoopy's hands for Luminosity, and I think that for what it's worth, those are the 2 best Kukulkan players in the world are Snoopy and Hurriwind. So obviously this pick is very potent. I just think that teams have to do a better job of drafting pressure elsewhere if it's not going to be in mid.
PolarBearMike lands the hammer. This is aggression from the Chaos team into the Order side of the map, but these Harpies will be controlled by Dignitas this time. Another thing to make note of, I mean, we're talking about whether you want the Hunters or the mid-mages. Wait a minute, CaptainTwig looking for a gank. Variety doesn't have a ton of mana at his disposal, but they can't quite lock him down. Variety's out of there. But another thing to take note of is that PBM loves this Sunder. We see a lot of Blinks nowadays, Horrific Emblem even making a resurgence, but he keeps coming back to this Sunder and upgraded as well.
He just loves the pressure that it provides. When we're talking about Anhur and the pressure that he brings in mid, it isn't so much wave clear pressure. He doesn't out-clear a whole lot of different gods pre-level 7. It's really his kill pressure that really matters. And Sunder is more kill pressure. And it transitions really well into the late game as well. In the early game, Mike can use it when he's 1v2ing or has a 2v1 in his favor, but they might be a little bit short on damage. Sunder will put that in their favor. And then in the late game, it just becomes the kill Trixtank or variety button. And how often have the solo laners and supports really caused problems come late game whenever they get too tanky for the carries to handle? It does mean that fineokay has to either forego Blink, or they might not get a chance to get a Frenzy, they might not get a chance to get a Shell. You will lack a team fight relic with this start. It's not without its flaws, but it's been very successful for Rival, and I think it plays around their style nicely.
It's a bit risky, isn't it? It does require some pretty good early game execution, I would say, to make sure that you're getting enough value out of this pick. But it fits into PolarBearMike's playstyle so well. He'll pick the Sokets, the Athenas, the Fafnir like we're seeing, these gods with relatively reliable CC on that single target, and then you blow that single target up with that Sunder. And like you said, Anhur's time to kill is already very short with that Desert Fury. It just accelerates that even further, shrinks that margin of error, makes it a lot easier for PandaCat to get off to a good start.
Fafnir definitely less capable of providing that chain CC naturally compared to the Athena or the Serket, but still has a chance to, once he transforms into that dragon, he can keep you locked down for an awfully long time. So I've got no problem with that selection for Fafnir, especially Mike. It's really between Mike and Kalas who's the best Fafnir in the world, and I think I'd give that nod to Mike right now.
Yeah, at least at this particular moment, but there have been certainly times where Kalas, I think, has earned that title for himself. You're right, those two very close. This game, though, is still pretty close, though despite the fact that there aren't any kills, Rival have built themselves up a nice little bit of a gold lead, about 1,400 or so, and again, like I said, that's not off any kills.
It's a lot of these back harpy invades. Rival has awards there. Look at Dignitas' awards. They're all fairly defensive. They've got a couple aggressive ones heading towards dual lanes. But other than that, everything's on their own side of the map. And even the buffs that Dignitas are getting, they're getting triple or quadruple split every time. So you're splitting that farm so much, you're really devaluing it very, very quickly.
Well, that's just one more advantage, I feel like, of the start for Rival, though. The Hopwa in the jungle, the Anhur mid, this Fafnir with the Sunder. It is a lot scarier, I feel like, to move around the jungle by yourself. So one of the consequences of that safety of kind of clumping up a bit is that you are splitting your farm a little bit less efficiently as the beads forced out from Ataraxia on the Jing way and left.
This is the whole reason that Rival go with the early Ullr selection. I don't think Dignitas is going to take it. They just wanted to make sure that Arkkyl gets a hang of it. This is the matchup they give to Arkkyl, or the god they give to Arkkyl, when they just want to let him loose. They let Kenny out of the cage, and they see what he can do. Jingwei, a naturally fairly defensive god. She wants to be able to back pretty often. She wants to just take your trades where you get a chance, but not until a little bit later on. This is the right style for Rival. Let Arkkyl try and make a play. He's up 2 levels right now.
Yeah, and if you want any kind of indication of how much Dignitas are not considering fighting right now, I mean, the ultimate used to confirm that red buff. I mean, sure, Rival were nearby, but they weren't in a ton of duress there. Just goes to show they're probably not looking to play around Hurriwind aggressively anytime soon. And this makes some sense. Susano takes some time as Hurriwind comes under duress in middle lane, is able to make it out of there, but it costs him the beads.
Now, that beads looks a little bit weird, but I wonder if it was preemptive on a water spout from CaptainTwig. If he gets knocked up there, that guarantees every spear from PandaCat on the back end. If CaptainTwig had already used the water spout, then that's a little bit of a panic beads in that spot. But there's that kill pressure that we're talking about. PandaCat doesn't have the wave clear, but he's trying to take down the enemy mid no matter what.
Making life pretty difficult for Hurriwind here so far, who's going this Book of Thoth route. You know, when we see other Kukulkans play it, they go the Book of Thoth right away. But instead here, it's the Shoes of Focus in the Book of Thoth a little bit later on beyond that. You still like this one under this much pressure, I suppose?
Yeah, you have to be able to rotate around. You have to be able to rotate to defend your blue, defend your red. You need to be able to clear the wave quickly enough and then have the movement speed. I think that this is the right call. This level of play, you just cannot afford to go with as slow of a start as the Book of Thoth start really is for Kukulkan. And even still, once he finishes that, the stacks are going to be very relevant, but he's going to get such a big boost of power. It's very similar to the Doomorb spike that most other mages receive. I know Doomorb is all the rage right now, but build book on Kuku, it's core.
Yeah, he just synergized off the mana a little bit too well, and Hurriwind should be able to capitalize on that later on. I mean, they're not going to have any shortage of setup on this team for this Kukulkan to hit home on their ultimates. And it's not just in those combinations that we see Xing into passing and the ultimate hits home. We also see it around the Gold Fury sometimes. Uses the best confirmation on the map as well. Dignitas might also be considering trying to play a bit objective focus.
Ataraxia is here to help split this red buff and make sure that it goes down in Dignitas' favor. A big commit from Dignitas on getting their buffs, but this lead is continuing to grow for Rival.
Yeah.
Mid-camp control seems to be going their way. Even despite Hurriwind's little bit of XP advantage, maybe they are getting some degree of mid-camps, but every buff being triple split is really becoming a difference for Rival.
I mean, this is trouble now for Hurriwind. He's been caught, and PandaCat finds the first blood. Comes knocking on the door there in the mid lane, and Rival on the board first.
That's an instance where you don't want mid-camp timer, because you're not going to be tempted to walk into the jungle. No ward vision there for Rival, but just knowing that this is when the mid-camps are up. Obviously, Dignitas is going to want to get them, so let's lay the trap. PBM right on time, doesn't even use the Sunder in that spot, and Trixtank just far too far away to ever help.
And that is the plight of Kukulkan at times, though. He was pretty caught out. Not a whole lot of people make it out of that situation, but it's just not as hard as some other mid-mages to catch him, as PBM might be making a rotation for variety, but Tier with Lawbringer still available should be safe. They commit the Sunder into the execute. Perfect from Rival, but Trixtank throws two underneath the tower. fineokay makes it out with the ultimate. PolarBearMike transforms as well. Rival get their pick and leave.
Can you tell they've practiced a lot with the Sunder?
Oh,
man?
yeah.
That timing window absolutely flawless between PBM and fineokay.
Filthy.
And that's perfect because Dignitas' composition is so built to team fight later on. Where are they supposed to take fights? At this point in the game, there's no wonder they've been so passive.
Well, this is critical, though. QvoFred finally putting a little bit of pressure onto Arkkyl, and that's an easy kill there for Dignitas. And now, obviously, that one's going to work for the Susano almost every time. But I'm wondering if that's almost too late. Can Susano not do that any sooner? I mean, Ataraxia has been under pressure all game.
He has been, but they don't know that the ward vision's really there. Mike has been hanging around mid for so long that it's hard for them to commit through a rotation to the left-hand side and expect to not get rotated on. PBM had to back after that little engagement on the right-hand side. I think that's a good window for Kuvo to exploit. He just hit a big power spike and the Brawler's V-Stick at the same time. And now you're leaving the window even more open because Arkkyl was level 12 but hadn't backed for Aegis quite yet. Now that he has that Aegis, he could be a little bit safer, but he still doesn't have beads for almost 2 minutes.
Could potentially get exploited yet again by QvoFred if the Susano chooses to show up on that left-hand side. Meanwhile, Ataraxia moving into some crit on the Jing Wei. This has become the new vogue, it feels like, for a lot of the time. Instead of going into that rage, to go into something more along the lines of a Wind Demon or Poison Star early on. And it's been popular because it works in a lot of situations.
It's just good stats on Wind Demon in particular. Poison Star is more if you want to stand and fight a whole lot, but Wind Demon gives Jing Wei everything she wants. The ability to catch up to you very quickly if she's had the advantage. She already has some movement speed and the long dash with the agility. But then also the ability to get away from you. She's going to crit you with Explosive Bolt at some point. So getting that extra movement speed really helps.
Gold Fury being pulled by Rival, and they are burning it quickly. Desert Fury there as well to raise the DPS, and Rival get it for Hurriwind can even consider the ultimate way too late. And right now it feels like Rival doing just about whatever they want. Finding picks and right, finding the Gold Fury, controlling the map.
Just feels like Dignitas is a little bit not quite ready for the pace that Rival wanted to set in this game. And I don't know how they expected anything different. This is the pace that they went at against Sanguine yesterday. This is the pace they preferred to play. It's not to say that Rival can't play the long games, because they still do that very well, but it's really their ability to blow the game wide open early. And it's not through kills necessarily. I mean, it's only 2-1, but a 4K lead has developed because they are just constantly pressuring buffs, forcing Dignitas to split. And when they aren't double splitting, they're there. They're taking it. They're at the objectives. They're getting kills. The Rival is just playing really, really smart Smite.
And very clean, too. Remember that gank they had in right on the Variety? I mean, that puts you on notice. I mean, I know Renegades and SK got to worry about each other right now, but in the back of their mind, they're like, man, that was kind of nuts. They're going to have to look out for that if they make it through. Trixtank just trying to reposition back towards the tier 2 in left. Rival, again, aggressing into the jungle, but nothing really giving there, and they back off.
And Rival's builds are really built to go a little bit later anyways, because CaptainTwig starting to go for the Pythags piece. That's going to be a great late game item once everyone starts to group up. PandaCat's going for an item that really helps him quite a bit right now, but also transitions him fairly well later on into an Aaron dive.
Trixtank blinks past PolarBearMike to try and get to Arkkyl. Instead, just ends up taking a ton of damage, but at the very least, that's the beads from Arkkyl and the Sunder from PolarBearMike, really just for the ult and blink from Trixtank.
That's a good trade. You want to put him down while you can.
fineokay in trouble now, but great timing on the ultimate. Gets him away, but that ultimate from Hurriwind was on point, just doesn't quite connect. fineokay makes down. Now he blinks right back in. They've locked down QvoFred with the pillar. PandaCat makes the rotation, and Rival find another.
Okay, so the gank doesn't go your way. We usually don't keep following them through the jungle, especially when the boys are on their way. No ward vision whatsoever for Dignitas on that half of the map. You can't expect you're ever killing fineokay in that slot. Not enough power for QvoFred quite yet. Susano, definitely a late game assassin. You want to get him to that point.
Let's see how much kill potential CaptainTwig has here up against Variety. Lawbringer available, so I imagine not a ton. And at the very least, they force it. That's exactly what they're there for. Pyromancer could be on the menu. There's 4 members of Rival here in right. And even if they don't get the objective, they want to suck Dignitas away from their farm. But Dignitas don't bite. That should be the Pyromancer for free.
Another perfect play by Rival. They're just pushing all the right buttons right now. Dignitas are a little bit slow to respond on where they're supposed to be at the right time. Look at those net worth charts, man. That's 4 members of Rival before you see a Dignitas jersey. And even then, Mike's right ahead of Hurriwind so far. I mean, only a level down. He's up 300 gold on the enemy mid laner. And Hurriwind still hasn't been able to get pen because he's so far behind in gold. It's going to be very difficult for him to actually do any damage whatsoever to Mike.
Yeah, it really is, man. At this point, PolarBearMike's in a great spot. The Relic Dagger 3rd item. You were wondering what his 2nd relic would be in a world where he already has Sunder. Well, it's Frenzy, the PolarBearMike special, something that he and Aurora both love a lot in this support role. Is going to set up for a ton of damage around objectives, even when you're sieging on the Phoenixes. So he's really curving out, I think, into just a great direction.
And no shell. That's the teamfight relic that Rival is probably going to end up lacking in this spot. But at the same time, Trixtank gone for Blink. How different is that Blink to Mike Sunder? It's the same sort of idea. We're going to use an offensive relic to help our engagement tools, and then you will make do without a sprint or a shell.
CaptainTwig making another gank here in Variety. They get the Lawbringer out much earlier. Well timed with the knockup, but it pushes him forward. And yet again, Variety's out. And that's twice now. I know they get the Lawbringer both times, but I mean, how much are you getting out of gank in this tier?
Well, there's only 1 camp up for CaptainTwig at that time anyways, and that's the back harpies. So it's not he's giving up that much anyways.
Sure, even if maybe not a lot comes from it, it doesn't really come at much risk at all if there's nothing more efficient to be doing on the map. Meanwhile, PolarBearMike and Trixtank tossing some pillows back and forth here in the jungle, as so far Rival have really left Dignitas scratching their heads about where they can go on the map and for pressure. You talked earlier about this late game combination from Dignitas and how strong that might be, but I mean, is that going to be enough to overcome Rival with this kind of lead?
It just isn't that same level of composition that allows Kukulkan to shine. There's a lot of setup, specifically a lot of knock-up setup here by Dignitas between Trixtank, Variety, and QvoFred. So Hurriwind's going to get a chance to hit some big ultimates in this game, but it's less about that for Kukulkan right now for me, and more about getting consistent damage off the 3. It feels like it's the first time in Kukulkan's life as a god that you could actually reliably hit the 3. It's added a whole new ability to the kit, more or less. What used to just be a minion clearing tool now hits gods as well. But look at what LG did with it. It was Erlong, it was Athena, it was easy setup gods for the tornado. I don't see that for Dig.
It's this big wind-up ultimate from Trixtank as he blinks in first. Knock-up is there from CaptainTwig. Avoids getting hit by the tornadoes you just mentioned, and Rival reset, at least for now. Dignitas have already done enough to not let this Oni Fury get stolen away.
But I love the patience from PBM. Doesn't fire off the Sunder in that spot. Eventually what's going to happen is Trixtank or Variety or Cuvo is going to blink in. They're going to get hammer sundered, and they're going to die before they ever get a chance to move again. They have that much damage on Rival, but the CC potential is also there. A quick knock-up from CaptainTwig, an axe from Arkkyl, and that's good night.
This could be trouble, though, for Trixtank instead. As he's been caught out by PBM. Good tornado lands from Hurriwind as well, and the damage starts to come through, but Trixtank, A-okay at least for now, repositioned still. Rival has played this game so patiently and so excellently up until this point. They're going to pull the Oni Fury down as well. It's below half HP. Dignitas are not going to make it in here, and another objective for Rival.
And PBM is just in complete control. That's he knows exactly where everyone from Dignitas is. Dignitas, again, visionless around the actual objective. They've got no shot of getting in there. They have no idea what the HP is in that spot. They may have actually had oracles. They may have known HP, but they know that they've got no chance to get past this brick wall that is PBM and fineokay. Finds level 17, man. I mean, yes, the carries from Dignitas are close, but that runic shield gives him so much more tankiness against Hurriwind. feel like Dignitas just hasn't had a chance to look aggressive at all.
Fine, okay, aggressive. That's the blink expended. Doesn't find a whole lot there. I love the way CaptainTwig's been building these junglers, though. He does this Pythagorean piece, Stone of Binding, on the Athenas, just about every one of these weird junglers that only he likes to play. And it really does give him plenty of damage still, but also a bit of a utility role for the team.
It also works better on Habwa than you normally think, because he has that water carpet. That'll proc Stone of Binding. It slows you. I think that Stone of Binding is an under-purchased item now. Do I love it? 4th item on Habwa? Not a whole lot. I think Obsidian Shard's probably better in that slot, but if you're trying to be that facilitator, then it is better than Obsidian Shard, because it works for not just you, but the team.
CaptainTwig with some damage over the wall. Blinks in aggressively, feeling himself. Here's the ultimate, nearly enough to remove Trixtank from the game, but Trixtank gets the Whirlwind of Rage and steal off. Where was the backup? Twig was in all alone. It ends up being a 1-for-1, but that's support for jungle.
Yeah, I'm sure Dignitas is stoked about that trade. That's a big little boost for Dignitas. They put CaptainTwig down. A rare misstep from, I'm not going to say CaptainTwig in particular, I'm not going to say Rival in particular, just a rare team misstep from Rival. Clearly Twig is on a different page.
Clearly. Maybe a different book.
Maybe, but maybe he was just too far forward. I mean, he's got Blink, the rest of Rival don't. It's hard for them to close that amount of distance. He's got the water carpet, he's got the Blink. That's a lot of distance he can cover, and maybe just miscalculated his own speed.
Unfortunately, didn't have the backup there that he would have liked. They'll settle for a nice Pyromancer in the back end of that one, though. So even though they lose CaptainTwig, certainly still not doom and gloom. I mean, this is still a 7K gold lead in their favor. They're certainly feeling comfortable here in this one. But can Dignitas, where do they have to start looking and applying pressure to turn this game's momentum back around? I mean, maybe if Twig keeps stepping on the line, that could be the place they go.
Certainly could be. You're looking at Qvo to try and get in there and execute on her in particular. It's going to be pretty difficult for PandaCat to live consistently now that Qvo is getting close to that Heartseeker. As soon as Qvo gets Heartseeker and Hurriwind either finishes Polynomicon or Soul Reaver, I think Poly's a little bit better in this spot. Yes, Soul Reaver's excellent, but Poly just makes Kukulkan work, more or less. Those are big power spike items that are helping Dignitas quite a bit. Ataraxia just finished off Executioner. That's huge for him. I like where Dignitas is going, and I think their itemization is going to give them a big boost pretty soon.
And maybe they can use this threat of Hurriwind around this objective, Trixtank's beefy body along with variety, to slow down Rival around these objectives. I wonder if that might be a point where potentially they could stall out, because Rival don't have the easiest confirm in the world. I mean, Habwa's certainly great, but Hurriwind on the Kukulkan is just that much better. They're going to be relying a lot, I think, on baiting in Dignitas and getting some kills before they go for the objectives. If Dig play it well, that might not happen.
I love what Rival's doing. fineokay has upgraded his teleport and is just sitting in long lane, keeping Ataraxia busy, making sure he doesn't get free farm, but he's already upgraded his teleport, so he can join the fight whenever Rival needs him to, whereas Ataraxia is going to have to walk. So smart, and it keeps Dignitas from getting an advantage elsewhere, and it allows your damage dealers, Arkkyl in particular, to sit around these objectives with you and actually give you the threat of burning this Fire Giant.
Now they have reclaimed the positioning around the Fire Giant itself. fineokay has joined them, but PBM looking aggressive on the Trixtank, finds the hammer. Looks like no Sunder behind it, but they didn't quite need it. There's the Sunder, and there's the execute, but it doesn't land. That means Trixtank's still alive. Twig comes in with the ultimate, does clean up a variety, answers back.
PBM still in that dragon form, finds Ataraxia, but beads are still good. That might be enough to get Dignitas out of danger.
It might be enough. That ends up being the 1-for-1. Not really anyone's favor, but hold on. Variety stepping on the gas. Gets the answer back from PandaCat with Desert Fury. That shuts that one down.
Still no Frenzy for PBM. He used it fairly recently, but this tier 2 tower could potentially be in trouble, but not as much as Variety.
My man does not have a Lawbringer. He might have to obey the law for the very first time. Arkkyl with the hail of arrows, the one that notches that kill in his favor, his very first one of the game, and now Rival can start threatening this tier 2 tower. No one in position from Dignitas to take it. It looks like they're just going to wait on a Gold Fury, trade that one out, and maybe Qvo can get the tier 2.
I think this is going to be a Fire Giant call from Rival. Shogun's is already done for PBM.
If they hear this Gold Fury, yeah.
They're going to know that no one's around. Just a bad play by Variety. There's ward coverage all throughout there for Rival. Again, a lack of vision for Dignitas, no information for variety, and he pushes a wave he shouldn't have.
A lot of work on Trixtank, but he can't make it in. Rival secure the Fire Giant. They've been in control the entirety of this game, barring a misstep from CaptainTwig. If we put it on him, we don't know if maybe that's the team not being able to get there, but barring that one mistake, Rival has played nearly flawlessly this game, and they look like a team in the best way that I could possibly say. I've been saying all year that I don't know that anyone else plays as well as a 5-man unit as Team Rival does, and it looks like we're seeing that here today.
They are just choking the life out of Dignitas right now. Where is Dignitas supposed to go for farm at this point? I mean, there's so much gold still on the map for Rival to take.
Yeah.
This lead, already 6K, is going to extend even further to, what, 4K more than what they have right now, because that's how much is on the map in towers. 2 1,500 gold tier 2s, and then a little bit from this tier 1 as well. So this is looking spooky, man. I don't know. This is not looking good now for Dignitas.
And it's a lot that they have to worry about in these next few fights, right? I mean, this Achilles execute gives them this waterfall effect. You have to worry about these big ultimates from PandaCat and CaptainTwig. Once PolarBearMike transforms, there's a ton of extra control that's added into the equation as well. It's not going to be an easy defense here from Dignitas at all. And now the last tier 2 tower coming down, it's purely Phoenix is exposed, and Dignitas have got to find a way to defend.
Look at where Kuvo is. He's hanging out. He's going to try and find a blink engagement, but I love where PandaCat and Arkkyl are positioned. They know where Kuvo is going to be. It's on that right side wall in their perspective. So let's hang out on the left side. Let's make it harder for them to blink engage. The one thing they need to be worried about is making sure they aren't grouping up for either Hurriwind's damage or something from Trixtank.
Nice play there from PolarBearMike. Finds a sick hammer into Hurriwind. That brings him low. fineokay goes right to the back line. Can't get the execute. Has to ult defensively. Has to watch out for Hurriwind's ult. He walked right into it, but they do get the left side. Phoenix either way. Hurriwind may have gotten fine, but Rival got the Phoenix.
Man, I thought he saw it for a second.
Walked right into it.
He was looking at it and goes, I can make it through. You can think he can make it through traffic, and then he gets flattened by the bus. That is a late game Spear to the 9 wins. So at least Dignitas gets something going in their favor, but that's a great preview of how long Dignitas has to defend a Phoenix. 3 seconds?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, you've got an upgraded Frenzy, Double Hunter, Shogun's Kasari, and a Fafnir on the other team. Bless up. I don't know how you're getting through that.
But I mean, if you're Dignitas, you got to thank your lucky stars, man. That fight starts off with PolarBearMike finding a really nice hammer into Hurriwind, and if Hurriwind gets forced into his relics that early, gets taken out by low committal CC like that, then that's a recipe for disaster for Dignitas. That honestly could have been a whole lot worse.
Poor pathing from Hurriwind for sure. He needs to go underneath in that moment. He leaving himself so far open. Let's say that isn't Fafnir hammer. Let's say that's an Ullr axe. He's dead.
Yep.
That spot. I mean, he's got to be more cognizant of that. He redeems himself with a big ultimate because let's say fineokay doesn't die in that spot. He's got upgraded teleport. He's coming back with enhanced Fire Giant. It's a bad spot for Dignitas, so at least Hurriwind's able to redeem himself and make a play.
But one thing to remember, that is the most valuable Fire Giant that Rival could have gotten all the way on the left side of the map, as far from the FG as you can get, which means that if Dignitas want to successfully push up those minion waves, they won't be there to defend the Fire Giant, but Trixtank wants this fight. They're going to bring back one more target, and it's Arkkyl. No way he lives through that one. QvoFred gets the kill, but that's Trixtank setting it up.
Dignitas might be able to find a little bit more. Rival sticking around. PandaCat backpedaling might tip them off, but there's a whole bunch of people in the jungle potentially waiting for them. Arkkyl didn't have the purification beads up. Dignitas knew it, and as great of an advantage, as great as a pro Ullr has in the early game where he can bully you out, he can solo kill anybody in the early stages, even through the mid game. In the late game, being in both stands puts you in a bad spot, and Dignitas able to capitalize on that nicely.
Nice pull back in there from Trixtank. You can see Ataraxia's crits coming through as well. That build online now for him with the Wind Demon and the Deathbringer. That spells trouble for Arkkyl, CaptainTwig, and PandaCat. If any of them get caught, even potentially fineokay. He's got a relatively tanky build, but you'd be surprised. As Rival willing to commit now to the right side, Phoenix forcing Trixtank's hand, as well as varieties. The ultimate from Hurriwind doesn't find much. fineokay puts Trixtank into the dirt, and Rival now with a 5-on-4 advantage can threaten the Phoenix. I say 5-on-4, but Arkyl's not here.
No, he's not, and it's going to be a little bit before he's here. It looks like Rival realizing that Kuvo's back with Blink, with Ultimate, and no relics up for PandaCat, no CC immunity available. Desert's Fury is on cooldown. They decide to back it up. That's a good idea, but I like Rival's game plan there.
Dignitas is pushing. We see teams do this all the time. Let's push the opposite side. We know we've got a little bit of time. They're not going to try and push 5-on-4. They'd be crazy to do so. Well, you've got fire waves to worry about, and you're pretty far. As soon as we see you on a wave that's engaging you, especially a god like Susano, he doesn't clear that well. He's going to need to use every skill in order to do it, clear a fire wave quickly enough. Even if you get back in time, you're not going to have cooldowns ready to fight. So Rival try their hand, but a better defense by Dignitas prevents it.
Nice play from Rival to grab that Fire Giant. It's not the enhanced version. We're not quite crossed that 30-minute threshold yet. So they'll be giving this one more try to break the base with that added advantage, as you eloquently put, of that left side Phoenix being down. It'll respawn in just a moment, but Fire Minions still will be trickling in for at least a little while, and Rival can play that very well. But in this draft, who's the member that you break off from the rest of the team? Is it fineokay? I don't know that CaptainTwig on the hop walk can do the same job that some other junglers can.
He doesn't, because it doesn't have Polynomicon. That's what you need to be pushing towers. I don't expect Twig to get Polynomicon unless that's the whole game plan behind it. So it's definitely fineokay, but Fine has been a big part of their initiation.
Yeah.
He's the only one with Blink that can actually tank a little bit. CaptainTwig is there to blink in and finish somebody off. So I don't know that Rival is really going to go for that 4-1 split. I think with Dignitas, I mean, QvoFred, he's got Heartseeker, he's got Titan Spin, he's got Magi's. He can 1v1 anybody at this point. So I'd be looking to defend 5-on-5.
Maybe that's the call here from Team Rival. They're all grouped up on this left side Phoenix with Fire Minions in tow. Trixtank finds next to nothing with that ultimate as he makes his way in. And this left side Phoenix, remember, is the weakened one, so an easy one to take down. Variety blinks to the back line, but Rival already. Variety locked down, barely makes out with the Lawbringer, but Dignitas, they're low. That's the Phoenix in favor of Rival.
And now they can transition over to mid. Frenzy was used by PBM, and that's big, but he still has his ultimate.
My goodness.
Huge boost in DPS.
I don't know how much it's going to matter. Look at this mid Phoenix is already low. They're able to stick on it as Arkkyl in particular, and that's the mid Phoenix now down as well. CaptainTwig has speed forced out and left, but they've got Trixtank locked down. Not enough to find the kill.
Oh, but Variety now in a bad spot. Twig still has that ultimate, holding on to it. Great patience.
Very patient from Rival. It's been 30 minutes and 49 seconds of patience from this Rival team. No reason for them to break now. Instead, they'll go ahead and take the full retreat at this point. Dignitas hold on to their base, at least just barely here at this point.
I mean, Rival still has a good amount of time on this FG. They can afford to back by, get some relics back up. I mean, PBM still wants to get that Frenzy up and rolling. With Frenzy, it is impossible to deal with this siege. And that's such a big key against a Kukulkan-based composition. It's kind of the running joke that Kukulkan's at his best when he's losing because he's so good on the defensive. It's so hard to break a base against him because he can clear from such a safe distance. It's so hard to get past that area denial. None of your carries can stand in that whirlwind without taking a ton of damage. Who cares about the minions, bro? Let us go in. We've got a Fafnir, we've got a Frenzy, we've got Coerce. We're good to go. And this is before Enhanced Fire Giant. This Fire Giant's a regular version. Let's say the Dignitas are able to hold in this spot. The next Fire Giant the Rival would get would ignore backdoor protections even without minions.
Exactly right. This exact strategy from Rival is only going to get better. But QvoFred found himself a target. Response from CaptainTwig is going to be the ultimate. Typhoon knocks him up, and Twig is really low in the back line, but no one else can get there. Great peel from PandaCat to keep him alive. But what about fineokay on the right? He has to use ultimate defensively. Dignitas have them fractured.
PandaCat's going to be the first to go down. fineokay in a bad spot. Has Blink, though. And Variety's going to try and keep it going.
Yeah, Variety's foot's on the gas. Finally turns things back around. But Dignitas, after being punched in the mouth all game long, seem to have finally found a point where they can make some defenses. And that's QvoFred making a play, man, finding someone in the jungle.
That's what you pick Susano for. Those late game playmaking moments. He's able to find CaptainTwig in the jungle. And even a late game Hopwa really cannot afford to 1v1 Susano because Susano's damage is fast. It is quick. And so is he. Hopwa's damage has low cooldown, but you still need a couple casts of that Water Hands in order to get it done. Susano can play your ult really nicely. Good luck ever hitting him with a knockup with all that mobility, and he's doing just as much damage as you. This is what this composition needs to do for Dignitas. Let Kuvo feast in the jungle on a backliner. Put him in a bad spot, and let Hurriwind just be that base defense guy. Jing, Kukulkan, super hard to siege against. They just take up the whole lane as far as areas you can't walk. 90% of it covered by Whirlwind, 10% covered by Persistent Gust. No way you're getting in.
Makes things real tricky now for Team Rival, but the question becomes at this point, I mean, is that just a good individual play by QvoFred, or how does he have a target isolated there in the jungle in the first place? Rival have to make sure they're not too split up.
First time I can say this all game, good ward coverage from Dignitas. They just had, that's the first time they've had information all game as far as where people are going to be in the jungle.
And they've been able to use that effectively to their advantage. Looks like we might have a brief pause there coming out. We'll try and work on getting this one sorted out here for you. But this game largely, and I mean largely, has been in control of Rival all game long. But now at this point here, Dignitas are bouncing back on the door. Yes, they lost left and mid Phoenix, but they did not break entirely, finding the picks, pushing back up against Rival.
And this is what the Kukulkan is there to do. It's the stopgap. When you got those aggressive compositions with the Erlangshans, with the Athenas, you get to be this big ult bot. You get to hit everybody with a whole bunch of damage. You get to poly a dude for half his HP. But on the defense, he still does everything he's ever done really well in that spot. It's hard to break the base against a Kukulkan draft, especially with late game Susano on top of that. Now Rival needs to find a way to find these initiations a little bit better. Trixtank has gotten tanky enough to even through that Sunder, he might end up surviving. Really, it's going to be up to PBM to find a good hammer, get that Sunder off, and then hope that Rival's carries are actually close enough to deal that damage. Both Variety and Quvo have done a great job of getting in the face of Rival as soon as Mike tries to initiate.
Rival now in position around the FG yet again, looking to see if they can lock down Variety on the left-hand side. They do, but they don't find a whole lot of damage as a result of their trouble. And the big crits coming through from Ataraxia, starting to put down the hurt.
That is huge. Again, CaptainTwig forced out of this fight entirely.
Yeah.
And Dignitas is already got both Phoenixes up. They might be the ones on the advantage on this Fire Giant now.
It certainly looks like that to me, man. Dignitas waited patiently all game, and now all of a sudden they're the ones on FG with the Kukulkan ult to secure. Keep your eyes on Hurriwind this fight, his positioning, and we were used to cooldowns, or maybe keep your eyes on the retreat, because it turns out they're gonna back up. Yeah.
I mean, they've got fire waves to worry about on that left-hand side. If they try and commit to this, then they are in danger. But at the same time, they have a relic advantage in that moment. I'm surprised that Dignitas don't try and force that a little bit longer. But their defenses have been strong, but not perfect. I mean, they've lost 2 Phoenixes already. You'll see teams give up Fire Giants because they know they've got a good chance on the defense.
Rival secure the Fire Giant one more time. Trixtank pokes his head in, but finds out nobody's home. That objective's already completed at this point. He's on the retreat, and Hurriwind needs some help. Beads have already come out from him. He drops the ultimate, finds nothing. In comes PolarBearMike. CaptainTwig finds the very first kill. Mike still standing for now and makes his way back out of there. Rival on top.
If you're defending, you're defending. If you're not, you're not. And I hate that call by Dignitas. If you're defending your Phoenixes, sit on the Phoenix and let them come to you. Trixtank going in trying to steal it with a whirlwind of rage and steel.
Yeah.
Doc, there's a Hopla and 2 hunters hitting it. That leaves Hurriwind out to dry.
And there's a Desert Fury from PandaCat as they spread the pain around a bit. Ataraxia has now been removed. That's it for the last remaining healthy Phoenix on the right-hand side. Mid and left should be made easy work of by Rival now at this point. Only 3 members up, trying to defend against 5.
Quvo found Twig with that knock.
They're going right in.
I don't know.
CaptainTwig drops the ultimate, but they found one more kill as Arkkyl shows up for him. Titan down hell. Arkkyl finds himself a double kill. There's Team Rival striking first.
You can tell, man, Mike's loving the PBM boys right up front. He's all about that energy, man. And Rival, I mean, it started to feel like they were losing a little bit of momentum.
It did.
But don't forget that the first 30-plus minutes of that game, they had on a stranglehold. Dignitas had a little bit of a glimpse of air. They got to see the clear blue sky for just a half a second, and then Rival immediately slams the door closed again. Dignitas, I think, has to do a better job of drafting to defend their buffs early on. They just didn't have a single lane that was going to have pressure by default, and that's exactly what they need if they're going to need to defend their buffs in game 2.
It left them in such a difficult spot. The entirety of the early game was dictated by the pressure of Team Rival there in that spot. And Dignitas, like you said, never really felt like they had much of a chance in that game. Towards the late game, when Rival was struggling a little bit with their initiation, they were able to find some isolated picks, and that's pretty nice, but it wasn't going to be nearly enough for them to turn that game around.
I mean, their comp was so good defensively, and then they start to win a fight. You feel like they're going to start sieging forward. They mess with the idea of pulling fire, and then it's, oh no, okay, back up, back up, back up. Ah, no, maybe we should try and get in there and steal fire. And that halfway call ends any hope of winning that game 1.
Ends up making things really tough for Dignitas, but that's only game 1. If we've learned anything this week, I doubt it'll be a clean sweep. Game number 2 and the Alienware Lounge on the other side of this break.
We're here with the most humorous costume winner, which it really comes down to the fact that your belt has the U-Rock, cancel that, making sure to rub it in that everyone knows that truly you are the greatest. This is a phenomenal costume. How did you choose the skin?
I just really love the DJ skins, and I wanted to make myself light up this year, so this is like the calling perfect for me, and that's how it came out.
How long from beginning to end did this costume take you?
This costume took me about 4 months to make, and it was a long, long learning process. So, because like I said, I've never done coding, never soldered in my life. I've done more of it now than I think some people ever have, so.
Well, it looks fantastic. Obviously, it came out perfectly. You've got the U-Rock, cancel that. Is seamless. Where can people find you if they want to be able to kind of follow up on cosplay, find pictures, anything?
You can find me on Instagram under Socowaii. It's SOCOWAII. I'm on Instagram. I don't really have a Twitter or really a Facebook, but you can find me there, see progress pictures, and just see what I'm working on next, which usually is SMITE, so.
Well, you can go there, find her, follow her amazing cosplay work, as well as potentially programming work that has been going on. She's the most humorous costume winner, and it looks fantastic.
Welcome back to the Alienware Lounge, everyone. After that incredible Game 1 of Rival versus Dignitas, I'm joined here by Zeros, Anatoly, and Ionic, and we're watching here at the SMITE World Championships. But we want to know how you guys are watching the SMITE World Championships. Make sure to tweet at SMITE Pro, and you might see your tweet on the screen. But gentlemen, Game 1 going the way of Rival, something that you all predicted and something that the audience predicted as well, but it definitely seemed like Dignitas put up a good fight.
Definitely did in the late game, but they couldn't really maintain any type of early control there because of that Hunter matchup, the Anhur versus the Jing the Ullr up against the Kuku. It didn't seem like Dignitas could stop the neutral camp control.
Yeah, such a methodical win from Rival. They really got, I think, around a 1K lead off the first buffs, and then after that, just playing their lead so well, so clean. Really no chance for Dig to get back into the game because of their picks. Rival just snowballed that game so well.
I don't know. I just think that Rival draft is so OP right now. I don't know what you do against it, honestly. And the thing is, Rival is the only team that can play a draft like that as well, that have the players that can play the goals that are required for such a draft. So I don't know, how do you prevent them from getting this draft again?
See, the thing is, when you are drafting low pressure early, like Xing Chen in the support role as well, you can get away with robbery in the sense of picking up this Habwa jungle. Normally, you get invaded if you're playing Habwa. You can't get your speed buff, you can't get your red buff, but not this game. Rival selecting their jungle selection very wisely and timely.
Yeah, we said that Rival switched it up, their comps from yesterday to today. But something that they have in common is that it's full pressure, pretty much pressure in every lane except for the Hebo. and that's what really allowed Rival to snowball this game.
Yeah, the thing with the Hebo though, like the Honor gives them so much pressure in mid as well, right? Which make the Hebo just get to run away with the early game for free. And like Hebo's still one of the best mages late game that you can possibly have right now. And his follow-up on Fafnir as well. Fafnir stun into Hebo knockup. So powerful.
CaptainTwig made a lot of great plays. Even if he didn't find all the kills, even like rotating to the solo lane, he forced out a couple of ultimates defensively out of variety. He applied the pressure where it mattered.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that he was rotating the solo so much. Obviously never going to get a kill on variety, but Achilles does lose the matchup to Tier, but he made sure that Fine was going to have priority in that lane.
We're taking a look at fineokay right now on that Achilles, and from the early game, he was dominating 2-0, I think, around the 10-minute mark there. But this was a slow game. How do you guys think that next up going with Dignitas? How are they going to change this, obviously, from making it that quicker game, that early aggression?
I don't know. It's a tough question because, like, obviously you don't want to give Rival this comp again. So maybe you ban the Fafnir, which kind of negates the double hunter, I think. But then you're going to have PBM on like a Circat or a Horus with Thunder instead. And like, I really don't know how you drop against Rival.
I think Trixtank just needs an aggressive support. Don't allow CaptainTwig any freedom in the early game.
Yeah, to me, I think they need pressure in either mid or support. And it seems that Hurriwind is set on playing these mages. So Trix has to be the one to play the pressure for this team.
I want to talk a little bit more about the mid lane there, PandaCat versus Hurriwind. There was actually a point where PandaCat had more kills than Hurriwind, but Hurriwind was up in levels, so it definitely didn't seem like Kukulkan was the deficit of that team there.
I think that's the reasoning of a lot of experience sharing in the mid lane, a lot of just rotational plays from PandaCat, whereas a lot more solo farming coming through from Hurriwind. What I'm more impressed with, it's the mechanics coming through from PandaCat. During that Fire Giant siege, that 180 impale, and then securing the Fire Giant, his first person point of view, just spamming the VEL as Anhur. I loved it.
Ionic, do you think that Fire Giant fight where it looked like Dignitas could have came back, but then they weren't able to pull it through, was that really the winning point for Rival there?
I don't know if that was quite the turning point because it seemed that Rival was in control of the game at the time, but that was a small window of opportunity. I do think it was the right call for Dignitas to back off and defend their Phoenixes, and maybe they can get something going on their Phoenixes.
Something I did want to point out, though, was right before the Fire Giant, what led to that opportunity was how they picked off Variety in the solo lane. After a little bit of a scuffle in the back camps on the right side of the map, they identified, all right, Variety's going to go on the right side of the map. They kind of feigned a little bit of pressure, backed off for like 5 seconds, was Rival, and then they just swarmed on the backside, even PandaCat jumping over the blue buff. There was nowhere for Variety to go without his ultimate.
Let's talk a little bit about the carry lane, obviously, over in the long lane there. Arkkyl versus Ataraxia. Ataraxia on his very comfortable god of Jing Wei. Did he pull it through with Jing Wei, though?
I think he did as much as you can expect him to do, right? It's a Jing Wei, doesn't do that much in the early game. Come late game, she gets crit, she does a lot of damage. But same for Arkkyl on the Ullr though, he didn't do that much in the early game either, which you're used to see from him, but things worked out for Rival anyway.
Jing Wei just did Jing Wei things, but the thing that I'm looking at is when it was picked. It was first pick very early on, and that didn't get any value. When you see a god being in that first slot selection, there needs to be an MVP kind of performance there. Otherwise, why even pick it that early on?
Yeah, the big question mark for me going into this game is where is Dig going to find their pressure? They had pressure in solo in that matchup, but as you saw, Rival's game plan kind of nullified that, and they didn't have pressure anywhere else. Dig needs to find some pressure somewhere on the map in order to match what Rival's doing. Otherwise, they're just going to get blown through in this next game.
I think the one that can get pressure for them is Trixtank. He can play this aggressive support. We've seen him play Fafnir, Nasha, Erlang in the past. But then when it comes to land time, when Trixtank can be on this aggressive support, we've seen him stumble a bit, so it could be a risky move for Dignitas, but like it could be worth a try.
I think they need to.
Yeah, something Trixtank did yesterday up against PK that he swapped up his playstyle was going from the Khepri into the Sobek. We might see it here in game number 2.
That's something that we got to see yesterday as well, is that a lot of the games that won game number 1 lost the next 2 games. Now, obviously, this is a best of 5, and everyone, we are now ready with picks and bans of game number 2, Dignitas versus Rival, and we're seeing pretty much the same bans from game 1.
Looking very obvious here because, like, as Dignitas knows, fineokay is an absolute nightmare with the Jormungandr, so they definitely don't care about what Variety wants in that solo lane.
I wouldn't be too surprised to see Dig go for the first pick Jing Wei. The long lane matchup isn't too important when it comes to the overall pressure around the map. However, in those second and third slots, I'm expecting Dig to switch it up.
Is there any other bans that you see from Dignitas coming out here? Maybe an Achilles ban, but can you ban out fineokay?
No, I don't think you can ban out fineokay. I think he proved that throughout the year. I think if anything, Fafnir, because I think as I mentioned it earlier, if you ban the Fafnir, I don't think they can run the same comp as they did last game at least, and I don't think you want to play against that comp they had last game.
I was going to say maybe a throwaway ban like the Achilles or the Fafnir to leave the Isis open to still make it difficult for Rival to make a selection here, because we haven't really seen Thor so far yet either. It was banned away in the last game, and with banned away as well, it's going to be another jungle ban.
I think Dignitas going to take the Fafnir for themselves here. It must be the case, right?
I know you can do
It's going to be the Achilles.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Rival prioritized the Achilles pretty heavily over any other soul laner in that last draft, picking it top 3. So Achilles, not quite the best clear god, not quite the best, you know, proxy between towers god, but definitely the best fighting god, and mid-game, he's really scary.
I feel like Rival just have the opportunity to run it back here. They picked the Amy, so I guess they won't. Actually, it could just be Amy solo, and then they could run it back. But if
I think it's Amy for Mike.
Now, get the Fafnir on or Ullr locked in again, like they could just run it back at last game, and the comp last game looks so good.
I love picking Amaterasu this early on because you don't really reveal your hand that early. You can flex that pick opportunity, and then the Anhur as well can be flexed between Arkkyl, also between PandaCat. Probably going to go to PandaCat. Not going to go for any sort of magical hunters, though. If they can select the Fafnir, though, I definitely want to see another double physical hunter comp.
Yeah, I think most likely we're not going to see a jungler or Ataraxia's pick here. This will most likely be Hurriwind and Trixtank's pick here, which are two very pivotal picks to see how the mid 3v3 is going to go, and it looks like they're going back to the Xing 10. Hopefully, we're going to see something more aggressive from Hurriwind than the Kukulkan.
I'm not in love with the Xing Chen pick because it's a little bit too passive in the early game unless you're going to go blink and try to make a lot of plays off of it. If you can force a lot of purification beats for your jungler to follow up, then I like it, but there's going to be a lot of moving parts for that to work out for Dignitas.
Yeah, I just don't understand why they don't take the Fafnir. Like, that's one of Trixtank's best gods. I think Sobek and Fafnir are the best gods that Trixtank plays, and they would also take it away from PBM, right? So kind of surprised by the Xing Tian pick, but we'll see if it works out.
Yeah, Dig running back these picks tells me that they think that their problem was not in the draft, or rather in the way they played the early game. Maybe they gave up a little bit too much in the early game, and that they think they can send the bleeding a little bit better than they did last game.
I mean, definitely got to agree with that. The early game definitely seemed even, and even towards the mid game, but the biggest difference for me was the 10K gold lead that Rival had, regardless of the kills. And with this going on now, Dignitas pretty much picking the exact same comp, except switching for the Achilles. How are they going to change it up in these last two picks?
I think, I don't know, but I just think about Rival. I think this could even be Amaterasu support here. Like, she kind of fills the same purpose as Fafnir does. Doesn't bring as much CC in the early game, obviously, but for objective burn with double hunter and the Hebo jungle. So I don't know how we stop this Rival draft.
Yeah, it's so hard to play against Rival because any of those characters could go to any of the people on Rival. Like, so many of their players are so flexible and play so many different gods.
That's why they're here as the first seeded SPL team, dominating Sanguine yesterday, which is a great confidence boost compared to how they struggled against Armada at MSI, how PandaCat and PBM struggled against Trifecta at Season 5 Worlds.
Neith coming out, which isn't too much of a surprise here. And I want to see what you guys think about Rival, clearly focusing out the bans for Quvo. Do you think that Quvo here is the pivotal part of this character? Can Quvo be making the difference for Dignitas here?
Definitely needs to be Quvo and Trixtank at the same time. The front line needs to enable Hurriwind and Ataraxia. A lot of comfort. And Robin is a very safe god that can also play hyper aggressive.
Kind of interesting, we haven't seen a lot of Ravana lately. Me personally, I don't think he's that great. With the Heartseeker being in the meta now, and he procs it on all 4 abilities, obviously, so could maybe be really good late game, but is he good into Hebo? I'm not sure.
I'm not a fan of this Dignitas draft, personally. I don't think that they solved any of the issues that they had last game. They pick up the Jingwei again, fine for Ataraxia, but Ravana is not really a character that you think is going to carry you through the early game. And you see Rival again over on the other side. Lots of pressure, and they have the double hunter again to transition into the late game.
Yeah, for Rival now, though, not a lot of CC so far, so I expect the last pick here to be something very CC heavily. Maybe even a Hercules support or something like that.
Now for Dignitas, the Robin is probably in conjunction with the Achilles aggressive solo lane playstyle is what I'm thinking Dignitas is going to try to execute. Maybe some early rotations from Trixtank to enable that. Maybe shutting down this Amaterasu in that solo lane, or just following the Amaterasu support even.
Do you think that they need to focus the solo lane? Was fineokay the reason why they took that win?
It's definitely not the reason why they took the win. It was just a great pick to have in the late game. The fact that fineokay lived at that 35-minute marker where he dove onto Hurriwind was hitting the last nail in the coffin, enabling Rival the game 1 victory.
Yeah, if Rival is going to pick this Amaterasu and put it in the solo lane, you need to help Variety get ahead, and you need to help them get those blue invades off. So I think it's going to be important for Dignitas to focus on the solo lane. But then again, it's also hard because they have the double hunter over on the other side at Gold Fury.
I want to know your thoughts, Zeros, about this Cerberus pick right here for Rival.
Yeah, I don't know if that makes too much sense to me. Sure, he has some CC in his kit, but it's a very hard skill shot for his stun. He has his ult, but I don't know. I would prefer something else.
I agree that the paralyzing spin, is a very difficult ability to land, but the easier one, the Ghastly Breath, is going to enable the Hebo, again, even harder. 42 magical penetration is going to help the Cerberus damage and the Hotbar damage.
Definitely going to help Rival's backline shred the front line of Dignitas.
Gentlemen, looking at these two comps for game number 2 of Dignitas versus Rival. Ionic, I'm going to give it to you first. Who do you have taking game number 2?
I think Rival got everything they wanted again, and I think they're going to take this go up 2 games.
The only way Dignitas can win game number 2 here is if they kind of camp out this Amaterasu in the solo lane. I don't expect it to be the case here. I think that the Neith global pressure will keep that solo lane safe. I'm giving it to Rival.
I have to go with Rival too, by the way they played last game, but I don't love the Cerberus pick though, so but still Rival.
With 3 of you guys going in the way of Rival, Anatoly, I want to ask you right now, what is it exactly that Dignitas has to do to not get 0-2?
They need to have some sort of mid-pressure control, not lose the neutral mid-camps as well, because there were like no kills on the board for a while, and still it was Rival with a 1,500 goal lead from the neutral objective controls.
Dignitas is going to have to be extremely clean about what fights they choose to take in the early game, what farm they're going to look to contest, and what farm they're going to look to give up so that they can farm more efficiently than last game. They just got 2 behind and 2 snowballed last game.
I think it's going to be a similar story this game, because like the armor will just be so much stronger. Actually, it's going to be Neith mid, I suppose. Maybe not then. Maybe the 3-on-3 mid will be pretty even and Dignitas can hold on better. Yeah, actually, I think Dignitas has a pretty good...
We haven't seen Arkkyl playing the Neith in a while, so I am expecting a little bit of a switch up now.
With 3 of you guys going in the way of Rival, we are about to find out how that turns out, everyone. It's game number 2 of Dignitas versus Rival.
Thanks, Kelly, Zeros, Ionic, and Anatoly on the desk. Game number 2 of our first semifinal about to kick off. And Rival not just coming into this one with a lead, but judging by the desk, coming to this game with a lead in terms of the drafts.
I can't help but agree with them. I mean, Dignitas didn't fix a lot of the problems they had with their last composition. I still feel like Dignitas is almost missing what made Snoopy look so good on Kukulkan. Not to take credit away from him as a player, but look at the drafts they went with. It was always with Erlong Shen or Athena or a big setup god, at least one of those gods to set you up. Xing Chen just doesn't do that. Sure, in Magical Christmas Land, where he picks up 3 people with the ultimate, you get to hit everybody. That's not happening, dude. Hit a pin, hit a taunt. Those are easy execution plays that actually do set your Kukulkan up for success. I just don't know that Dignitas has done enough to enable Hurriwind in this composition and make sure that they don't have to be triple splitting all their buffs like they did last game.
I mean, we can count how many big ultimates Hurriwind hit last game on one hand, probably on 3 fingers. I mean, there was the one nice ultimate, but fineokay kind of walked into it, right? On the left-hand side, you're right. Those freehand ultimates weren't a huge part of what Snoopy did, as now Trixtank aggressing in the enemy jungle. Meanwhile, so is PolarBearMike. Dignitas have given up their own jungle, and Twig defends his own.
And Trixtank just gonna chase Twig around. He has no sort of idea that he's actually getting a chance to steal speed there. There's no way he out-secures Hebo Water Cannon. But it's all about just making sure that you're chasing the jungler around, slowing down their pace of farm, making them double split or triple split where they don't want to.
Red buff, same thing happening here. They are able to out-confirm, but as you said, has to be done between Twig and PandaCat, though that is fairly standard. But hold on then, Dignitas moving into the Chaos side of the map, and they'll grab the purple buff. Arkkyl seasoned enough to just give that one up.
And that's because of Qvo's pathing. He, again, as soon as PolarBearMike shows up, he forgoes speed buff, gives it up, and transitions over to his own side of red buff. As long as Dignitas has eyes on where Twig is, they know that that start is fairly safe and fineokay, but wouldn't be surprised. I mean, if your jungler does the same thing 2 games in a row to the same strategy, start thinking about ways that you can abuse that heading into game 3. Wouldn't be surprised to see fineokay maybe start at red with a teleport, trying to stop Quvo from getting any farm whatsoever.
Yeah. Looks like fineokay did control the blue buffs on this right-hand side of the map, though, which is at least something here for this Amaterasu versus the Achilles. I mean, you heard them on the desk saying that the competition was a bit control light and that they might want something control heavy for PolarBearMike. He goes with the Cerberus. Does that fit that bill enough for you with just the ultimate?
I don't think if you're looking for pure control that the Cerberus is enough. No. But I don't think that Rival really is that control light. I mean, everyone on their team has a really good CC that they can confirm nearly by themselves. And you've got the option of adding more damage into CaptainTwig. Totally highlighted on the desk. Ghastly Breath, still an absolutely bonkers ability at making your magical carries do more damage. I like that in conjunction with the Havois. You've got insane combo potential with that Stygian Torment into damage from, well, everybody on your team. I think the Cerberus pick is one that is high execution, difficult to maneuver, and hard to maximize. A lot like Fafnir. Turns out PBM's pretty good at Fafnir.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be just fine on this Cerberus.
But it looks like the Cerberus doesn't warrant that same Sunder like we saw from him in the last game that he likes a lot. This is going to be the Blink instead. And I got to imagine that's around the Stygian Torment. It's such a good initiation. All those big circle ultimates are, like Wrath of Terra and such.
Sure, but he also has Sunder basically built in for CaptainTwig with that pen from Ghastly Breath, so he doesn't need to double down on that. Plus, it's very difficult for Cerberus to close that gap, unlike Fafnir, who's very safe to jump in because he can transform and jump back out if he needs to. Not an option with Cerberus. You're committed once you're in.
This is another thing that happened a lot in game number 1. CaptainTwig is ganking over here on the right-hand side. Even when he's not ganking, he's showing presence. Trixtank's here as well, so they're evening up the numbers. But in comes PolarBearMike. Even the backflip expended already for PandaCat to get to this fight sooner, but not a whole lot coming from that one. They already dropped the buff.
Perfect timing, but look where QvoFred is. He might find Arkkyl is trying to back on his own purple.
And he could be in some trouble on the left-hand side. Arkkyl finds the jump, overhead kick immunes it, but he can't commit to the tower dive, and Arkkyl barely makes it out of that one.
Man, if Fred is just level 5, that may have been first blood, but that start is really what changes it. Imagine this whole scenario, but Cuvo's able to go speed to backs to blue. He's probably 5 in that instance. The fact that he's not able to get there and get that play made, largely credit to PBM in the way that he's forced that sharing. Just as Trixtank has for CaptainTwig. CaptainTwig in your typical rank game would probably be level 5 right now. These starts that shut down the junglers that make it hard for them to reach that metric.
But it is a much better early game for Dignitas so far than game number 1. By this point, Rival already had a 1,400 or so gold lead already established themselves without very many kills. This time, it is slightly favoring Rival, but Dignitas doing a much better job of holding onto their jungle and holding onto those red buff spawns in particular that Rival are doing such a good job of stripping.
This is a much better look, but it's not to the point where Rival is at their strongest yet. They just hit level 5 for PandaCat. He's going to be able to use that ultimate without ever rotating. fineokay is now level 5. He can maybe rotate a little bit earlier than what Variety would be able to do. He's got better lane clear and more movement speed on the Amaterasu. I think Rival, now that they've hit 5 on a lot of their major characters, on everybody now, has a much better right now fight than what Dignitas has.
I do think it is worth noting, though, that it is the Anhur over there on the left. At least I was on the belief that they might want to run that back for PandaCat again with this Anhur. World Weaver is plenty relevant from the left side of the map anyway. You don't necessarily need Neith in mid, but they choose to make this call here. You like it?
I do, because they want Arkkyl to go, oops, I soloed you, every once in a while, because Arkkyl has that potential.
Oh, Trixtank's dead, baby! Arkkyl found himself first blood. That's courtesy of PBM yet again. And you said it about yesterday. PolarBearMike is feeling it right now, man.
Locked in, and that is the best news that any Rival fan could have.
Yeah. And they're putting pressure on the right-hand side of the map as well as Variety a bit low underneath the tier 1, but not quite in trouble. This might be more about the blue buff, but they're baiting. Blink in from Twig into the ultimate, and that time CaptainTwig finds it.
Early pen boots pickup, baby. It gives you more damage than you're ready for. Cooldown boots are all the rage these days. Who needs flat pen? Everybody. It makes you do a whole lot more damage, and Twig puts it on display perfectly right there. Getting Variety and Trixtank behind, a great look. I mean, Trixtank just now hits level 5. Mike's gonna hit level 6 off this wave.
And I say this all the time about Twig. We'll hold our thought as Trixtank has found him, pulls him back into the Kukulkan ultimate, and Hurriwind gets a critical kill. And it's a good pincer from QvoFred over the top. He comes down on PandaCat, but not enough to find the kill. Rival able to make it back out, only losing Twig.
That's because Arkkyl was on the rotation over. Good patience by Dignitas. They still got the beads out of PandaCat with QvoFred, chasing him with that ultimate. I mean, look, Twig makes a big play on that right-hand side, sets Variety behind, but good identification by Dignitas. No fear from Trixtank despite the early death. They gave first blood over to Rival. He's got Blink. He's got no ultimate. He's dead.
PolarBearMike again finds the stun. Desert Fury connects, leaps over the wall, and Arkkyl completes the kill. But now they're going to deal with QvoFred. He's already made the leap in. No ultimate available. They're going to keep on surging. But some backup comes from Hurriwind. But that doesn't deter PolarBearMike when he's feeling himself. Chasing down QvoFred. That's the support, ladies and gentlemen. Touchdown kill.
There's no way Mike makes this one. He's got to sacrifice himself, but it's worth it, man. Support, trade out for a jungler.
Wow.
You know Mike's feeling that, but here's the problem. That's the overarching identification, right? Support for jungler. Which one of them is level 7? It's PBM.
I guess, yeah, he's the more valuable person.
He is the more valuable member. But there's something to be said for team morale, right? When you're support, when your leader's getting in there, getting his hands dirty, it's your offensive lineman getting a big block for no apparent reason, you know? But it still pumps the whole team up, and Rival certainly, I'm sure, feeling that extra little bit of boost.
Yeah, I would describe that as the literal opposite of hitting a man in the head with a helmet. That play there, a nice one from PolarBearMike as he was able to turn that one around. And now another pincer. It's CaptainTwig, aggressive, gets away from the control from Trixtank, makes it back to the tier 1 tower. No more lockdown, but keep an eye way on left as QvoFred pushed up, forcing Arkkyl to jump back to the tower.
This is perfect, though. Qvo's at least getting some degree of pressure for somebody, and this is the difference between game 1 and 2 so far. It's that Dignitas has a lane that they can lean on a little bit. It is this left-hand side where Ataraxia has a little bit more pressure and is getting at least some degree of farm in his favor.
It's surprising.
Problem is, though, I mean, Qvo's still really far behind. He's still down a level to PBM. Trixtank is just now caught up, or getting closer to catching up. But Mike's gonna get Thebes really soon. And this is the worst case scenario on these aggressive supports. It's the Najas, it's the Erlong Shens, it's the Cirquets. That when those gods get leads, it feels like they can do everything. You can't kill them because they're building tanky. And you can't run away from them because they'll CC you. You can't stand and box them because they'll outright out-trade you. It's hard to deal with.
PolarBearMike again aggressive, looking for Ataraxia, but shouldn't be able to find him from here. Man, I'm a big Cerberus detractor, not a fan of him. But PolarBearMike makes it work. World Weaver comes through. That's going to be waiting on him when he comes down, but they won't commit on the back of getting that airstrike out from Ataraxia. But as I was saying, I'm not a huge Cerberus fan, but PolarBearMike, if you're just going to hit all your abilities, he looks real good.
It's that execution threshold that's hard to hit.
Trixtank blinks back in, finds the knockup on Arkkyl, but Arkyl's out, as is PolarBearMike. Trixtank, though, does have the ultimate available, won't pull in PolarBearMike. He uses Stitching and Torment, and PandaCat's on the way. There might be a turnaround here.
So is Qvo on the other side. One Hurriwind down to CaptainTwig.
We've been talking a lot about PolarBearMike. CaptainTwig is clearly feeling himself too, and I wonder if that is the PBM effect a bit, that confidence spreading throughout the team.
Has to be. Absolutely has to be. PandaCat in trouble. Beads has to be used, but Qvo still got ult.
He dunks in over the top, and PandaCat continues to run, but QvoFred has nothing to lock him down. But there's 3 members here, PolarBearMike and the rest of the squad, coming in to try and back him up. Arkkyl finds the impale on the QvoFred. Overhead kick allows the reposition, but CaptainTwig finds the knockup again. PBM finds kill credit. They're not done.
PBM might have jump up soon. This might be a potential chase. This paralyzing spit has to land.
Knockup though from CaptainTwig. Who needs the spit when Twig's hitting like that? Second in a row for PBM. 3-1 and 2 on this Cerberus, man. He's bringing the heat.
Man, this is the worst case scenario when you're playing against a rival.
It's a nightmare, dude.
You're putting them on comfort picks. You're giving them leads early. And God forbid you let Mike start feeling himself, man. Look, Mike gets out of bed in the morning feeling himself.
That's right. That's a confident dude, man.
He wakes up feeling dangerous for sure, but this is a whole nother level.
Certainly is at this point now, playing in rhythm, taking some of these riskier plays, and it's all coming up. Rival uses the ultimate to avoid getting stunned by Dazzling Offensive, but not the World Weaver, but a little bit too tanky as variety. fineokay, unable to complete that kill.
Yeah, close though, and I like the fact that PandaCat just letting these ultimates loose left and right, man. This is the way you gotta be playing Neith. If your ultimate's on cooldown for more than 45 seconds, someone's messing up on your team or yourself. That you're not firing that off absolutely all the time. No Mage's Blessing for him, so less CDR than I really like on the Neith, but still, it's worth it.
fineokay might be in trouble this time if Trixtank can find a good ultimate. He's not even going to look for it. PandaCat rotates over, so does PolarBearMike, and they've got Dignitas raid, but PBM doesn't jump in. Variety just got back.
Wow, I'm shocked. I thought they for sure he was going to blink in and all.
But they've got to be careful on the left-hand side. Dignitas threatening Gold Fury. Arkkyl defends it basically by himself, and Twig now starting to hunt for blood. Smells it in the water. Big knockup for her.
Oh, we got him!
And the turnaround play from Tyler puts
That's huge from Hurriwind because the Arkkyl is really behind still, even despite being 3-0 before that. Hurriwind gets some momentum going. Big play by Arkkyl, but that's credit to Hurriwind, man. Not a lot of setup. Sometimes you just got to do it by yourself.
And he's able to get it that time. Knows that Arkkyl had limited mobility options in that spot. Gold Fury now low. And Trixtank on the way to try and slow this one down. But one Xing Chen up against two. No hope, no chance. Gold Fury there secured by Rival.
And that's that space created by Arkkyl. He forced so many people back. I mean, clearly the lack of vision has hurt Dignitas this set. Again, it hurts them there. We know that PBM is sitting in blue buff looking to blink in and maybe kill Variety with that Stygian Torment, knowing he doesn't have ult. But Dignitas don't know that. So as soon as Arkkyl shows up and postures aggressively around Gold Fury, they think this man's a psychopath. There's no way he's playing like this without help coming. Twig was on the way, but Mike sure wasn't. I think if Dignitas had that information, they would have stuck on that Gold Fury and tried to secure it with the ultimate. With a lack of ward vision, again, coming back to hurt them.
They've just been on the back foot all set long. Rival, at this point, been able to basically grab whatever it is that they want up until now. Take a look at some of these builds, though. I don't think the pain is going to be slowing down for Dignitas anytime soon. That Pythax piece that Twig loves on the way. Executioner on the way. Stone of Binding finished.
And the big deal for me, XP differential, 2 levels for fineokay, 3.5 for Twig in his favor.
Trixtank trying to make something happen in the jungle, doesn't find it. That red buff now belongs to Team Rival. They'll steal that one and back it on up. Not a whole lot for them to strip away in the jungle for now, so things might slow back down. That XP differential.
But that's huge because you're getting Arkkyl farm a little bit, sure, but he's got a triple split and invade. That's not really worth it. It's keeping farm out of Ataraxia's hands at this point. That's the one area that Dignitas have a lead right now is around Ataraxia.
Okay, good. No, they're doing it. All right, Fire Giant being looked at 13 minutes, 45 seconds. This might be a bait. No way they can burn this early on in the game, but the FGs at half HP. Variety here to defend. So is Trixtank. They drop the objective. They want the fight, but PolarBearMike can't find the paralyzing spit, so they overcommit underneath the tier 1 Variety low. Desert Fury more than enough, and Arkkyl finds the kill.
But the fact that Dignitas is so far behind means that their tendencies are going to be to go towards farm. As soon as Rival's off Fire Giant, Hurriwind and Kuvo go, okay, let's go mid and push this because we need that minion wave. And Rival just keeps their foot on the gas pedal, keeps on going to that right-hand side. No rotation in from Dig.
And they'll come back and set up the Pyromancer, probably what they wouldn't have minded in the first place. Now, Dignitas, at the very least, get the tier 1 in left, tier 1 in mid. Very nearly, Neith's able to find that tier 2 in left as well. But a good rotation from fineokay to slow that down. Dig are getting the scraps, the little bits that are left behind, but this is still mostly Rival.
I mean, Kuvo is just on the run all game long. He's still down to PBM in farm so far. He's down a level right now and just has no way of out-trading Mike, especially with this Stone of Binding. This was such a key pickup on Cerberus when he was meta, was this Stone of Binding. It just means that your 2, which is already absolutely bonkers, huge slow, huge prot shred, good damage. Now it's just that much more because you're adding even more prot shred. And it's not just magical this time, you add in a little bit of physical as well. I love this item on Cerberus.
Rival, looks like they weren't kidding about the FG. They're back over on the right-hand side of the map again. But this is aggression on a Variety. Twig threatening him all by himself. But Variety patient with the ultimate, used it to try and maneuver. But PBM on a killing spree on the Cerberus support at this point in the game.
There we go, right back towards the Fire Giant. Kubo's gonna go on an aggressive path in, and there's no wards here for Rival.
Frenzy's already popped. Trixtank has to come in. Hurriwind opens all the way, but it's not enough. Rival secure the objective. Trixtank, we're gonna see you in a little while. 25 seconds on the bench, my friend, as Rival find 2 more.
How on earth do Rival get that done before Hurriwind's ultimate gets there, man? I have no idea. I thought that was Dignitas's for sure. But Rival, understanding that even if they lose fire, it's not that bad. They're still pushing, man. Why not?
I mean, they're pushing on the right side. Phoenix, in comes QvoFred, dumps down Ataraxia, and Rival might have finally put out more than they could chew, but they got the right side Phoenix. 2-man stun. Variety finds Arkkyl, and they want a little bit more. Not able to find it, though. Rival might be out with a Phoenix in tow.
I mean, they just don't have ultimates to fight with, Finch. Dignitas is down in the ultimate department and XP. How are they supposed to siege forward? Rival still has Fire Giant regen at this point.
That's right, man. At this point, that might be enough of the Twig on Hebo experience for me, man. Because he plays it so well. There's really a confidence that he has with it to make that play on the Variety. He's been looking sick.
he's been lights out. And I think that's the big pick that Dignitas needs to take away. It enables these double hunter compositions.
Right.
Because they're getting enough magical damage out of the jungle. And Hoploss thought of as his late game burst mage, and he does that very well. But his early game buff secure is fantastic. Trixtank has no way to get it over him. He can easily evade because he can clear buffs so quickly and get him and his team out of danger with the water carpet. I think that this is a pick that Dignitas have to take away.
Looks like Primal Fury will be spawning in left, and already fineokay is in position for that. I don't know if Dignitas know they're trading it, but they are as they take the tier 1 tower in right. And they have decent threat on grabbing this tier 2 tower as well, but they're gonna back. No longer will they pursue it. Rival at this point up 9,000 gold, and with Fire Giant, we're 17.5 minutes into this game.
I love the pace that Rival's been setting. We're going to Fire Giant. What are you going to do about it? We're going to Fire Giant again. We know you've got better secure than us. Show up. Show us that you're going to be able to do it. And Dignitas is this team that it feels like sometimes they get on the back foot and they stumble a little bit. Their backstep and counterpunch isn't always super strong. This is a team that has gone late very consistently this year. I believe they have the longest average game time.
CaptainTwig won't let them get their World Weaver come through, and Variety evaporates.
Twig is a nutcase, dude. He's stunned. He knocks up Variety to make sure he can't channel the ultimate, so he doesn't get CC immune, so it guarantees.
Oh, hey, Nate. What's up, bud? Waiting downstairs for him is fineokay once he lands. Dazzling offensive doesn't get him. They turn towards Trixtank. Not a bad target. Tier 2 tower falls in mid to PandaCat. Right side, Phoenix already gone. We're 18.5 minutes in. Can Rival in?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they could have if they really wanted to try and commit. The lack of wave does hurt them quite a bit. Good whirlwind there from Hurriwind is going to put solid damage. But I think this is still game pinch. They've got Frenzy up.
And no reason why they shouldn't push in. Here comes the big ult from Hurriwind. It does find 2, but only really damages fineokay. Titan at half HP. Rival going in the fountain, but Variety pushes them back out. Dig ain't done yet. In fact, QvoFred wants a kill.
No blink for him, though, so it's going to be difficult for him to keep this chase going. PBM's a great bounty to get. He's huge, level 15. That's gold waiting.
PandaCat can't make that push by himself. PolarBearMike's definitely dead here. Ataraxia gets the kill credit for that one. So Dignitas, hold on. Life support, as they say. But not so sure if it's a DNR just yet. Dig's still in this one.
I mean, Rival, I think if they just go for Titan instead of messing around with mid-Phoenix, allowing people to respawn.
And they don't fountain, too.
Yeah, they're trying to keep them at bay. I think that could have been an end for Rival, but... Bro, they're up 10K with 2 Phoenixes down. Who cares, right?
Yeah, this is brutal.
I would say that normally. Placements taught us something else, though, that no lead was safe. How many 20K leads got thrown in?
Yeah, go ask Hypeuted and Sanguine, about this position. They knew how to defend.
Man, you just said what's up to Bobby, like, what, 21 minutes ago?
That's right, yeah.
That's messed up that you're gonna throw him under the bus like that.
Well, no, they're the ones that made the defense.
That is true, that is true.
But instead, Ataraxia will grab the Pyromancer on the right-hand side. At this point, though, it's such a difficult defense. If you're Dig, I think you have to play out like this, right? Because Rival can just push past you and end. But Ataraxia in trouble. Airstrike allows him to reposition. fineokay can't keep up the chase.
Well timed. That's hard to calculate. You don't know exactly where PandaCat is. If he's on speed buff, then I get hit by this if I go in now. But if he's in Fountain, then I just get stunned by it on the way down. It's an awkward sort of situation. Nice game awareness by Ataraxia and timing that one out.
And Rival going to keep up the pressure too. Like I was just asking, how do Dignitas play this because of how low their Titan is?
So the problem is for Dignitas, this composition doesn't fight as well late as the last one did because they have Ravana instead of Susano. That's a huge difference in late game prowess. I think they had a better shot of defending last game against that lead than they do here.
Oh, there's this trouble. Ataraxia's already removed. Trixtank does throw 3 members back, but they're just on their way. That's a big ult though from Hurriwind, but it really only finds 1. Trixtank locked down and low, but PBM and fineokay don't have the damage. There's the dash. They put Trixtank to bed, and now there's just 3. Variety, QvoFred, and Hurriwind left trying to keep this base alive.
This might be game now, Finch, because there's a fire wave coming in on this right-hand side. The big difference is that Rival does not have Fire Giant. No regen for them. They hold this damage.
Did he not hit Variety there with the ultimate? I couldn't quite tell. Didn't look like any damage came through, but fineokay is on the Titan. Frenzy popped as well, and that should do it. Rival commanding lead in the game. Look at PBM feeling himself. They're up 2-0.
Can you blame the man?
Nah,
he did
not even a little.
Hard popped on that Cerberus. He instantly just destroyed any game plan that Dignitas had in that game with that Cerberus selection and the start that he was able to get off to. I think it's time to take Trixtank off the Xing Chen. I think it's time to put Hurriwind on something that is going to be able to do a little bit more by himself. They're putting too much pressure on him in that mid lane. If you want to keep him on Kukulkan, put Trixtank on Athena, put Quvo on Ullr, put Trixtank on Ullr. That's a great pick for him.
Sure.
I want to see a little bit more buff defense and the ability to fight in the early game from Dignitas. And also, please do not let Twig get Hopwell anymore, man. That's enough for me. He's doing too much on it.
Yeah, clearly the man feeling himself at this point. You just saw Biggie coach for Dignitas there a moment ago, and I would say, Aggro, that he's got his work cut out for him in this one if he wants to try and turn this set around. They're going to have to get 3 in a row up against Team Rival. That ain't coming easy.
It really isn't, especially when Rival's got the crowd behind them. They got a big cheering section right up in front.
Yeah.
EBM super fans here in attendance. The crowd's behind Rival. They've got to just try and close it out from here.
A difficult task awaits Team Dignitas on the other side of this break. We'll find out how they handle it.
What's up, guys? Dolson down here on the red carpet, joined by Travis, the executive producer for SMITE. Travis, we just got to watch Hi-Rez Presents. Lots of fun stuff going on in that video. Season 7 looks like it's going to be a great one. What all are you excited for moving into Season 7?
Well, I think number one, the most important thing that I'm excited about is that God reveal. There were a lot of vague hints at some of what are the upcoming gods. We did announce Baba Yaga. That was exciting. I've already looked on, and I see threads online that are already guessing what the other gods are, and some of them are pretty close.
They had to keep it cryptic, right? You can't give away too much too early on.
Some of them are pretty good so far.
Some of them are close. Some of you guys are getting really close.
Hone in a little more, maybe.
But you know, it's lots of balance changes, map design changes, things like that. Talk to me a little bit about Olympians and kind of what role they play in making design changes.
Being completely honest, the Olympians have been unbelievable this year. The fact that we meet with them practically once a month at least. We get a lot of good feedback from the community, from different parts of the community, actually. Right. So we get arena feedback, we get hardcore conquest player feedback, we get Switch community members. We have avenues into each one of those different departments, and it allows us to really look across the game where we might be only focused on one. We get opinions from all sorts of areas, and we actually work with them so closely that our long-term planning schedule has a lot of recommendations that came directly from them. Right. So that's an exciting part of it. And looking forward to the future, next year we're also really hoping that we get as much excitement and much engagement. I think the applications are opening up I think in a couple of weeks for next year's Olympians, so we hope that we get just as much of involvement because it's been a huge help for us.
It's a pool of knowledge for sure. You take feedback and it helps drive SMITE to be in a better place ultimately. Yeah. So make sure to keep your eyes out for the Olympian applications coming out maybe shortly.
Yes.
Another group that you guys worked with, Rooster Teeth, for the Ruby Battle Pass. What was that like working with those guys?
That was an amazing experience for us. We worked so closely with Rooster Teeth in developing which gods were picked, which voice packs we used. They had input all the way through as far as their models. We actually used their voice actors and they helped write some of the lines. The models themselves were amazing collaborations back and forth with Rooster Teeth about the details on the outfits that haven't even been released in the show yet. So that's really exciting for us. The entire process was amazing, and we can't wait to do some more collaborations like that in the future.
Yeah, it's incredible. I know a lot of people were excited about it. I was as well. Kind of final thoughts. I mean, much to be excited about here at Hi-Rez Expo. A lot, going on in the Hi-Rez Presents, Ruby, Olympians, feedback. What does the future look like? Are you optimistic about the future of SMITE and Titan Forge and everything?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's accurate when we say that we believe that SMITE's best days are ahead of it. And the reason is when we see the type of collaboration that we did with Rooster Teeth and Ruby, and we come out here and we watch these types of this presentation, this tournament stuff, you can't help but feel the excitement growing. And going into the future, we want to make sure that we double down on SMITE and the way it feels to play SMITE. So we're cutting features. We're looking for ways to stop necessarily adding new functionality and really putting a lot of focus back into the game, improving the core mechanics, making it feel good, like tackling long-standing bugs, making sure that basically next year we're reinvesting into SMITE and making sure it just feels awesome to be there.
Absolutely, I can't wait. I mean, a full arena of people here excited to play SMITE into Season 7. Travis, thank you so much for standing by with me and talking to me. Enjoy the rest of Hi-Res Expo.
Heimdall, do you really think you can stop me?
That's why I'm here.
Welcome back to the Alienware Lounge, where we are going to be going into game number 3. But before we do that, we have to talk about that game number 2, Zeros, Anatoly, Ionic. And the first question I have, Zeros, you had a few questions about that Cerberus pick. How do you feel about that Cerberus pick now?
It ended up working pretty well, I think.
Yeah, a lot of confidence from PPM, right? Diving between that tier 2 and the Phoenix at level 7.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy though. Imagine being a level 5 jungler, getting dove at your own Phoenix like 5 minutes into the game by a level 7 Cerberus. That's when you know it's kind of rough.
You know what we saw yesterday? We saw Dignitas lose the first game and then kind of learn from their mistakes in game number 2 and then obviously pull through in game number 3, but we did not see that here for game number 2. Ionic, what exactly did Dig do wrong in that game?
Yeah, I'm definitely still confused by their draft. It just seems a little bit stubborn from Dig to go back to the same comp where they just got ran down on so hard in the first game. They have to adjust here for game 3.
So how are they adjusting then? What are they going to have to do? Does it come down to the comps? Does it come down to their early aggression?
Both, honestly, Kelly. They need the early aggressive supports. We saw Trixtank go from game 1 Capri against PK into the aggressive Sobek Blink. Game 2, it worked out for them. And then game 3, Pele for QvoFred really popped off. And we need that confidence from those two frontliners.
I want to see Trixtank play Hercules and run a CaptainTwig speed buff. That's what I want to see him do at the start of this game.
Speaking of CaptainTwig's Hevo, Zeros, is there any fault in this God pick?
No faults, but I'm pretty sure Dignitas is going to ban it away next game. I thought it was the Fafnir the first game that enabled the comp, but apparently they can do it with the Serb support as well, so I think the Hevo has to go. It's just looking too strong, and the way Rival's playing right now, Hevo gets to free farm so much in the early game, and he gets so far ahead of Fred, and Hevo from ahead is so hard to deal with.
Yeah, something important about the Hevo too is that it's magical damage, and he's spending a lot of time over in that solo lane. A lot of the time if you're playing an assassin, you can't really camp solo because you're building physical defense. Hevo's able to camp that solo lane, and I think Dig is really going to need to get Variety some help over in solo.
I think it might come down to a little bit more than just a Hevo, honestly. I think it comes down to Anhur in the mid lane. Just a lot of mid pressure there. How do you really defend your own red buff when you have to deal with so much slow coming from that obelisk, the long range pressure from his Desert Fury? It feels like PandaCat was just going unchecked.
Yeah, Rival's able to clear first in every lane, and that's enabling them to go into the jungle and find the picks that they need to enable their comp.
Looking at the map shots, everyone, I think what we were just talking about before, the solo lane there, obviously Dignitas taking Achilles away from fineokay did not really work out for them. I believe he was 0-3 at the 15-minute mark here. So are they going to ban out Achilles so fineokay doesn't have it, or do you think they're going to try and counterpick again?
I don't think they're going to ban it or pick it this early again, because when they drafted it, it led me to believe that they were going to lean on variety a little bit more in the solo lane, but there were no rotations from QvoFred. They didn't get the pressure that I thought they were going for. So needs to go for a better early game pick, but there's just so many good ones that already stripped away with the first 6 bans.
Yeah, I don't think the solo lane matchup has any impact on the pressure here either, because I feel like Riot is kind of going even, but it's just outnumbered every time, right? Like Twig and PBM will be there, and they're only there because they get mid priority all the time. Like they're 3-on-3 in mid, just so much stronger. Like Dignitas have to deal with that somehow in the draft.
Yeah, not only are their 3v3 picks better in the mid lane, but also I think their synergy is a little bit better for Rival as well.
Jumping into picks in bans of game number 3 here, everyone, Habwa immediately banned out. They do not want to see that in game 3.
Well, something that CaptainTwig did outside of the Hebo so far in this tournament was the Athena. So probably still going to lean on mid hunter pressures for PandaCat and then more magical junglers.
Yeah, I think definitely he can probably whip out the Poseidon as well. We've seen that in SPL. I think he only played it once in SPL in phase 2, but he had a monster performance of that as well. So, but I'd rather play against the Poseidon jungle than the Hebo jungle at this point. So I really like the Hebo ban.
I really want to talk a bit about our support players here. Looking at game number 2 there, the Cerberus versus Jing. I believe Trix was 0-5. Well, PBM was 4-1, acting like a carry player there. PBM, how does he sit on this team? What is the importance of PolarBearMike?
He's just pressing the W key, going for the Sunder plays. It's really hard to stop him when he's amplifying all the incoming damage, playing such high bursty supports like the Cerberus, which probably is the most damaging support in the game.
Yeah, this is why it's so scary to go against Rival when they're playing like this and when they have all the momentum on their side. Everyone just plays around Mike and they're able to find the kills whenever he wants, pretty much.
Yeah, I think Rival as well in the whole league, probably the most momentum-based team. We see them sometimes when they lose, they look kind of bad. But when things are going well for them, they look unstoppable as they have in these 2 games.
We called it earlier that Dignitas wasn't going to ban or pick Achilles, but Rival seems A-okay with that, now picking up Achilles and Anhur as well. This is looking like it's just going to be a 3-peat.
Not really surprised about the Anhur. I kind of do agree with you about the 3-peat as well. It doesn't seem like Rival's going to be stopped today from Dignitas' early game pressure. They need to be able to switch this up, but Freya, Zeros, do you think the Freya and the Neith is a response to the early pressure coming out of Rival?
For sure, and I like this so much better from Dignitas. Like they have to change something up, right? Like the first and second game kind of run the same route with Kukulkan. Did not work out. Trying something new here. We'll see if it's time to turn it around though.
Yeah, these are good adjustments made from Dig, but it's just a question of, is it too late? Best of 5, you do get 2 games to lose, but it's too little too late, I think, for Dignitas.
Zeros, this is something that you mentioned before, that we're not really seeing King Arthur being banned or picked, so why is Dig deciding to choose picking King Arthur right now?
It's just a super solid solo lane pick, and I think Riot just hopes that his mid trio can do better this game, so he can have some help in the solo lane instead, and if you get ahead of the King Arthur, he can really bully this Achilles as well. So
there's 2 reasons why you pick the King Arthur this early. Number 1, you don't want to reveal the hand of your other picks, and the second reason is you might be fearful that Rival could potentially ban away the King Arthur in the secondary ban phase.
Well, speaking of that secondary ban phase, we have 1 ban left from Dignitas Ionic. Who do you think that they need to ban?
I think they need to target out CaptainTwig here. They already took away the Hebo. Maybe they take away the Poseidon so that they can't run their double hunter again.
Yeah, really smart. They already took away the Poseidon, but I think they should have banned Athena as well, because they did play Athena yesterday, so.
Huyi ban though. And it's really, what are your thoughts on that?
We have seen Huyi in the mid lane before there. I believe that Amelito played it 1 game yesterday, and then some other mid player played it as well. Didn't have the greatest success, I think, but when you're worried about maybe some big team fighting ultimates, and you're the one being aggressive, you don't want to run through those suns, especially in the late game.
Yeah, really like what Dignitas got going here though, because they kind of forced Rival to change how they want to play now, right? Now that PandaCat's going to be on a mage now, so they're going to have to play way differently.
Trixtank, I feel the same way. That Sobek, we saw him in game number 2 yesterday, was a pivotal part of their success there. But R2 as well, definitely a character that Trick is comfortable with.
Yeah, I actually like the RDO here. It's pretty good into their team. Stops the Merlin Flicker, stops the Khepri Pluck, stops the Anhur Jump, and is going to be integral, I think. It's a good combo with the Neith. to help Dignitas get some picks here in the early mid game.
A good amount of crowd control from just the RDO alone. Cripple really disables Khepri's abduct. It's hard to do anything offensively or defensively while you're stunned by the RDO, crippled by the RDO, rooted by the RDO.
Ravana! Is this something that you guys expected?
No, not at all. The big baby, it was kind of a sleeper pick for a majority of Season 6, but if you are going to dive the backline against the Freya, that Umbrella Ring, reducing attack speed, and if you have a little bit of damage and tankiness, how is that Freya going to be relevant in team fights?
Yeah, something else we're seeing here, the power of Rivals Flex. This Achilles now going over to CaptainTwig, and fineokay is going to be piloting that Ravana, I think. And that's another high clear character that's going to help him rotate over to the mid.
Zeros, you're laughing over there.
Yeah, I mean, it could very well be the Ravana jungle too. I know Twig likes to play duel, and he plays a lot of Ravana in duel, so who knows?
Guys, looking at this comp right here, Dignitas versus Rival. Dig needs to win 3 games in a row to make it to the finals, and Rival, with how strong they're looking, is that possible? How are they going to take this game, Ionic?
Yeah, I think they're going to be able to hold steady in the early mid game a lot better than they have been in the past, but they need to be stepping it up individually as well. They weren't playing clean enough to execute their comps in the first 2 games. Rival on another level in the draft and on another level mechanically. We know Dig has the potential to play that way. Let's see if they can step it up.
Establish mid dominance, mid pressure. I like the more aggressive support coming from the RDO. It's going to be important to really shut down PBM on this Khepri. Don't allow Rival to be aggressive and look for your own kind of invades. Otherwise, we're going to see a clean 3-0 sweep today.
I like what Dignitas have done here. Like, they have a new draft going and they force Rival into a different direction, but I just think, we mentioned how Rival is a momentum team, right? And I think they have too much momentum to lose this game, so I think Rival's taking this one.
All right, gentlemen, this could potentially be the last game of set 1 today. Ionic, who do you give it to?
I want to see Dig take a game here, but my head is telling me this is going to be a clean sweep for Rival.
I kind of enjoy Dignitas' composition a little bit more, but based off of how Rival has been playing the last 2 games, I'm also giving it to Rival. We got to see something from Trixtank this game.
I mean, I already said it, but I don't see Rival losing.
All right, audience, who here has Dig taking a game off of Rival? Who has the Rival 3-0 sweep? Well, everyone, we're about to find out right now. It is game number 3 of Dig versus Rival.
Thanks, Kelly, on the Alienware Lounge. This could very well be the last game of this semifinal match with Rival punching their ticket to make it to finals. But Dignitas needs something if they're going to turn this one around here, Aggro. Is this draft, the band stripping away the Havois, is that enough here for them?
I really think it could be. I mean, what have we been begging for from Dignitas? It's pressure. They've got it. I mean, they've got pressure in duo with this Freya. They've got pressure in mid with the Neith. Trixtank can actually afford to fight early. Qvo cannot afford to fall as far behind as he did last game, though. That's going to be a really big key.
It was a non-factor.
But I think that Dignitas, here's my problem with their composition. It feels like it's all about getting pressure, which is what they needed. But how will it transition into the late game? I'm still not completely sold on Freya as a pick right now. I know every team seems to feel like she's really good all of a sudden, but I think Freya is really good for pushing the wave, but can't fight you really well. And then as soon as she gets boots in all 3 rings, she's the best character in the game for 8 minutes. And then after that, useless again. She has a very, very small window of effectiveness. And we'll have to see how well Dignitas can really utilize it.
I'm also interested in following along QvoFred on this Pele as well. I mean, Pele's been playing pretty well, had a bit of a resurgence here lately, and QvoFred needs something where he can be active early. Trixtank, considering a rotation, finds the ranged route onto 2. But with Ataraxia that far pushed back, there's not really any kills coming from that one. They need this Pele with the Ninja Tabi Rush to really be active.
They really do. Qvo just fell too far behind last game, and this is the first time that Mike isn't on his speed buff. That's a good sign for him. I think it is that ability to get those Ninja Tabi early on and be able to chase you down and fight you so well with Pele, even in the early game, that prevents Mike from going for that start. This is a much better look for Qvo. He's able to get his speed buff uncontested, a little bit more normal. I think this is where Qvo has a chance to shine.
And one of the other threads on the desk was, where was this Vamana going to go, right? I mean, Ionic had the initial call that it would be the Achilles jungle and Vamana heading over to the solo lane, so 1 point for him in that regard. And do you think that's the right play here? Do you like this Vamana over in the solo lane for them and how it matches up against Dig?
I do. I like it a lot more than I like it in the jungle. I really thought it was going to be Twig on Vamana.
Me too.
It just feels like a Twig pick, right? Nothing can be normal. But I think that the idea of the Vamana, like, how does Neith or Freya ever get away from you as Vamana? And fineokay has been one of the best Vamana players.
Wait, you don't think that really slow, predictable backflip gets Neith away from Vamana? You don't think that?
No, I don't. Considering that
Vamana
is
follows her.
CC immune,
Yeah,
so you can't even
easily.
slow him if he already ults, and he's got movement speed, and you are backflipping at half a mile an hour. No, I think that he's going to be in trouble. Even Ataraxia's Valkyrie Discretion doesn't buy him that much time overall.
Yeah, unless you can find return kills, a lot of the times it doesn't do enough to get you back out unless you can kind of threaten them away with your damage. And I don't know that Vamana, who obviously heals more when he takes those instances of damage, he's going to be threatened by that. He might be able to just keep right on trucking. It does seem like a lot is going to rely on the execution from fineokay on this Vamana, but fineokay this season, I think, is the overall breakout star this year. You can trust him to execute.
Completely agree. BBM's in a little bit of trouble here.
Been banished by the Freya, 2-man stun from Trixtank, but it's just not enough early game damage. But this horrific emblem might perhaps change.
Love that.
BBM makes his way back out of there, and they're able to stand tall.
Love Arkkyl, realizing that Mike's not going to have a good dash opportunity. The horrific's messing him up a little bit. Arkkyl realizes that health bar is shared in the duo lanes. He's able to go aggressive in that moment.
Oh, the leap doesn't quite come out. Trixtank's root's there, but Arkkyl doesn't fall either. And I like that you point out that shared health bar. We don't see a lot of this duo lane anymore, right? Ataraxia and Trixtank, PBM and Arkkyl getting to lane together. But remember, PBM and Arkkyl, that was the original kind of core of this team, right? It was that PBM really wanted to lane with Arkkyl again after they played at that Invitational. So they definitely got their synergy on point, and I think you saw it there.
100%. That's an old duo lane adage. Got to give a shout out to my man Bro Chancho, who used to preach that all the time. Is that we don't have 2 separate health bars. We got 1 big one. Mike's is getting whittled down. Arkkyl steps in front, absorbs those autos, and puts out some damage at the same time. Just efficient duo lane play.
But Dignitas in the best position they've been all set in the early game. Game 2, I praised them for not being that far behind. This time they're actually slightly in the lead in terms of gold. We'll see if they can hold on to that. We have not seen a lot of these bars up in the blue area for Dignitas this set.
No, we really haven't. And I think that this is a product of their draft. They have the threat of actual kill pressure and actual wave clear potential on their side for the first time all day. And Rival has to respect that by playing a little bit more safely. The Trixtank's got to have to be very careful about his position. Even with these tank boots, it's another Sunder pickup for PBM. So he's going to be looking to Sunder and hit Trixtank with that abduct. As soon as, especially, we find him in that bear form and he can't find the root.
That's right. I think people forget his QvoFred used the ult defensively. Wow, that's a lot of pressure from Twig. Then he got that out. But you kind of forget that RDO sometimes can be isolated very well. The dash can be strong, but she's entirely reliant on that very kind of predictable dash. If you can interrupt that, stop her, get her out of it, then RDO a lot of the times is just going to die.
Very easy to interrupt it. I mean, you've got a ton of options to do so here.
PolarBearMike has been caught. Variety continuing to be aggressive. Finds the ultimate on the PBM, who does not have the Scarab's Blessing yet. PBM lower, but Variety might become the target. CaptainTwig has to disengage, and PBM falls. Variety finds first blood, and Dig fans, you gotta give him more than that. Dignitas getting on the board here at the start of the game.
Finally, something going in Dignitas' favor. Great fight around Variety's side of the map. That's where you want to be fighting. You don't need to be fighting around the mid lane at all. Use that global to your advantage. Take fights where you could actually have the man advantage because of the ultimate. And Dignitas do that perfectly. They do it in the lane where they're going to have the most kill potential, which is around Variety. And they kill PBM before he has a chance to get that Scarab's Blessing up and ready. Good look for Dignitas. There is a pulse for them early on here in Game 3.
It's good to see, man. I think that maybe we undervalue the time you spend in the air in that King Arthur ultimate, because Variety was about 1.5 miles ahead of Dig, but it buys so much time where they know where PBM's going to land. The rest of Dignitas will get in position to follow up, and Rival didn't really have a way back out of it. Clearly the call was disengaged. You saw Twig ult defensively to get away, and Rival ended up giving up first blood the first time this set.
Ataraxia is okay. CaptainTwig just a little bit too far away, even with Blink. Worth noting, the Cuvo buys his Assassin's Blessing late. Remember, he started off with Ninja Tabai, then backed once he had 700 gold, and bought the Assassin's Blessing. Twig's had it since the very beginning, and Qvo has more stacks on that than Twig does. Tells you Twig's been sharing a little bit more in lane, hasn't been on time for his jungle camps maybe quite as quickly as Qvo. Qvo's also playing a much better clear character in Pele. Pele clears the jungle very well because Magma Rush does a lot of the work for you, not only clearing, but also getting you from camp to camp very quickly. Achilles, not great at clearing the jungle early. His one, the shield, does a ton of damage and basically instant clears buffs, but it's like a 15-second cooldown. Pele's got 2 charges on the one, auto attacks that are a little bit quicker. You've got a lot more options to clear the wave, and I think that has also helped Qvo out quite a bit.
And they need it, man. They need QvoFred to be a difference maker in this game, because so far CaptainTwig has just had more impact. Ataraxia hits a pretty sick banish that stops PolarBearMike's aggression. But like you said, that Pele's ability to move around the jungle faster and clear gonna be huge, but Trixtank's already low. Can't find the impale, but who needs it? Desert Fury gets Rival on the board.
This Thunder is just throwing off calculations left and right. Again, Trixtank thinks, okay, I can step up here, I can come to help. You can't. You just take that extra 20% more damage, and the fact that Mike's using it so early, because you get that 15% of their current HP as true damage, is huge. He's using it early, he's setting himself up, and Arkkyl's right there with the follow-up, man. That is perfect.
PolarBearMike continuing to get it done on multiple different picks. A lot of the times you see Kepris in these early games take the Blink. Blink Abduct is such a strong tool for these supports. But PolarBearMike's showing, man, you can do it with his Sunder as well. A lot of good tools available. I know he died earlier for that first blood, but he's still relevant and even ahead of Trixtank.
Surprised that he goes with some Travelers. I think this is to cover that lack of Blink a little bit. Lets him get in range of a few more Abducts that normally he may not have been in range for. That Blink has been such a key part of Mike's Kepri in particular. He loves that selection, played it a lot during the year, and really made it look insane to go with a Blink on it. But the Sunder is part of the strat right now, so he goes with a different boots option. That could hurt him. A little bit of dot damage on Dignitas, QvoFred's Magma Rush. Trixtank gonna stack you up pretty quickly with that ranged root. Just wants to make sure he's ready to go.
Hurriwind waiting with the ultimate charge, perhaps for an engagement on the Trixtank. But no one on Rival bites, and Trixtank makes it back out of there. And this is how different Dignitas look with a bit of pressure, but it's Rival going aggressive. That should shut down the Abduct. Trixtank takes half HP, but a big shot from Hurriwind cripples CaptainTwig. In comes Variety, but uses the ultimate to reposition, but no one's gonna help PolarBearMike. Gets the Scarab's blessing on himself, but he's still stuck in no man's land.
Variety gonna clean him up. fineokay has made the rotation over. He actually teleported into mid to try and match it. Look at this, Twig actually survives to take away the enemy heartbeats. That's huge for CaptainTwig that he lives in that moment. They only lose PBM, but what an early rotation from Variety, and that's what you need your big game solo laners to do. Feel the set slipping away from you, feel your chances at a world championship starting to dwindle. Put your foot in the conversation, man. Keep the door open. Variety does that with an early rotation.
That's huge from him, man. And that's what I was about to say, is that they've gotten pressure in areas they didn't before. Twig is behind QvoFred, and fineokay has had to just sit under tower. Look at the Warriors. Blessing stacks up against this Gladio from Variety. Not competitive in this laning phase so far. That's what frees up for these rotations, as opposed to them sitting on their hands in games 1 and 2.
It's so difficult for Ravana in this matchup as well. It's one of the few Warriors that sees play that doesn't have any sustain in the kit outside of his ultimate, but you don't want to be using that in lane, because then Qvo can just blink in, knock you up, and kill you with some help from Variety. So every piece of damage that Variety puts onto fineokay, which is a lot, he's King Arthur, he holds. And that's a huge deal. It's really freed up Variety to do a good job in this lane. That being said, fineokay is still even in XP. He's hanging out as much as he can. He's playing this lane correctly.
Well, the best you can with this pick. They're going to be looking not for fineokay to impact Variety, but from an impact Ataraxia and Hurriwind. We broke that down earlier on in this game. So he's treading water a bit for now. Variety having a bit of a field day, but that could potentially flip as things get later on. But I do like this. The Brawler's beat stick coming out for QvoFred early. They're going to be going into this Achilles and the Vamana. Makes some sense to me.
Love it. This gives you a kill opportunity against the Vamana that you normally would not have. Wouldn't be surprised to see Trixtank actually pick up a Cursed Ankh in this game. Can be really strong against what Rival has. I think that I'd like to see them pick up a Cursed Ankh. Just fineokay is the linchpin in the late game. We already highlighted it. He's going to make sure that Hurriwind or Trix or Ataraxia, whoever they choose, can't play.
PandaCat's been hit by the ultimate from Hurriwind, but that's not enough. Trixtank still though insists on engaging, is hit by the abduct, and in comes the Merlin damage, pulls him back in, and Twig gets the execute. Rival answer back.
So perfect. I mean, just the mechanics from PandaCat, the reaction time on the flicker to create enough distance, and then the turnaround kill. He uses his full cooldowns perfectly, change stance, and wait. No reason to throw out those abilities too early. PBM's gonna set you up perfect.
Hurriwind with the backflip avoids getting pulled, but has to use the beads as the ranged root from PolarBearMike threatened his life. But I mean, I do think that was a really sick turnaround from Rival, but it felt like Trixtank really wanted to force the issue in that fight. I mean, yes, the World Weaver came out from Hurry, but I don't think they got as much out of it as they wanted.
No, I mean, it's all because PandaCat just created too much separation, and Trixtank has Horrific Emblem, doesn't have Blink, doesn't have any way to close that gap safely. He knows he can't dash in that deep in the enemy jungle either.
Gets punished for it. Rival in position for a fight around the purple buff, but another good banish. Ataraxia has been really good with those so far. If you all had any questions about if Neith's Freya was going to show up today, it's starting to look like it so far.
Huge, and he's at his big power spike moment too. One of them, the Telkine's ring early on, is a key part of what makes Freya viable right now, is this big power spike. It's kind of akin to your Doom Orb. It makes such a big difference in your power level very quickly. It's expensive, a lot like Doom Orb, but we've seen the Doom Orb work. I think it's going to work for Ataraxia. He's going to work on a Demonic Grip next, and after that, the Hasten. As soon as he gets that Hasten ring, he should be looking to make plays, because that's where Freya is at her absolute strongest, as soon as she finishes those 4 rings.
Yeah, Telekine's just that upfront damage, right, as opposed to the Demonic Grip over time. And Arkkyl responding by going with this Blood Forge. I feel like we don't always see this for Anhurs, but I guess in the world where you can't get the Transcendence, it's a big power bank item. Is that sort of the idea here?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, he wants to match that same power spike that Ataraxia has. Now, the counter idea is that you just go Devourer's Gauntlets, you wait a little bit longer, and then you end up getting this huge power spike, means you finish Executioner, that you just finished stacking Devourers, and you've got Xe, and all of a sudden you're super strong. But he doesn't want to get bullied by Ataraxia right now. If you start losing purples because he has Telkines and you've got 20 stacks of Devourer's Gauntlets, you won't hit that power spike early enough. This is there to ensure that Ataraxia doesn't get that big spike. Plus, it's pretty common that we see this against the physical ADC, the magical ADC. You just go with the Blood Forge early because they hit their power spike a little bit earlier than you, and you don't want to concede too much pressure in the lane.
Still, though, the best Dignitas has looked throughout 14 minutes in this set so far. Still holding
their biggest
on
lead
to about a 1,500 or so gold lead. A little bit less experience, really not enough to call it a lead. But Rival might be looking to put a stop to that with a potential collapse. But Hurriwind smells it out and starts to run for the hills right away.
I mean, Variety's got Blink, he's got Void Shield. Usually that 3-item mark is where you see solo laners start to want to influence the map because they are just stronger than you at this point between their base stats, their itemization as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see Dignitas try and start to force an objective, but their objective secure is a little bit riskier than it was before.
Twig has to use his ultimate to get away from the World Weaver from Hurriwind. Well timed, but QvoFred not going to slow down the aggression. He needs fineokay in the jungle, finds the knockup. Variety now here as well to slow down the push. But fineokay wants a little bit more damage off the back end, can't find the knockup. He's just looking for QvoFred, but no way he makes it in there.
I mean, just too much damage from Variety. This Void Shield is so much better than the Breastplate of Valor and Start of Runic or Achilles for fineokay. fineokay's not building to beat Variety at any point in this lane. He's conceding the fact that he's never winning that matchup, and he's building for the team fight, which is the right idea. When Variety just gets to hit you for that long, it's gonna show.
And a bit insistent on that dive, trying to get to QvoFred. Just no world where you catch up to a Pele with the speed buff. Erendite there as well. So a little bit of extra damage he maybe didn't have to take, but in the end, makes out of there A-OK. Still the best position for Dignitas, though, that we've seen him in. Still a lead for QvoFred over CaptainTwig. But everywhere else is starting to even up experience-wise. It's really just that little bit of a gold lead that separates them. And you seem to think that they should have been able to do better in the early game even than this.
Maybe, but look, when the bar is where it has been the first 2 games, this is a big difference. I mean, the game was nearly over at 15 minutes last game, so this is a much better improvement from Dignitas. I'm happy with where they are. Their team fight is going to get better as soon as Ataraxia gets that Demonic and gets that Hastened.
And they'll be able to get a lot more out of this Freya at that point, as so far Dignitas have been able to fight back much better in this game. But there's tools on Rival's side as well. They also have the Brawlers, they also have the Divine Ruin, all in the service of limiting QvoFred in particular, and Variety and Trixtank. There's a good amount of healing, self-healing on both sides of the aisle this time. So I expect anti-heal to actually play a pretty big part.
PandaCat and Twig already leading into it as well. And with that Sunder, it just means that your healing is never going to get a chance to go off with this much anti-heal and a Sunder on your side.
fineokay's got to run under duress. Had the ultimate if he needed it, but he didn't. So Rival respond by aggressing in the left-hand side. That's why fineokay's aggressive here. He doesn't want to let QvoFred rotate over, and Rival confirm the Gold Fury and wipe away the lead at Team Dignitas.
Perfect timing, too, because Trixtank was nowhere to be found. He had just backed because he had just hit level 12. That's Rival really paying attention to knowing when Trixtank's going to want to back, feeling that timing out of his itemization. How much gold do we think he has at this point? Do we feel like he's going to need to back right away? That is absolutely insane that they're able to find that small window.
Dignitas' response will be the Pyromancer, and Rival not local by any means. The Pyromancer will go down for free. A nice response there from Dig. They basically have to come over and do that since they lost that Gold Fury without really any contest.
And that brings them back into parity, a little bit ahead once again. That's good for the Dignitas boys. They've got itemization coming up. It is a blink for Trixtank, so no use of that arc.
Not going to be helping him out here this time, as the rest of Team Dignitas now in position, considering maybe a collapse in mid, but looks like that won't be the case. Rival have huddled up under that tier 1 tower, so they're just going to fall back for now. PolarBearMike has the Frenzy, but really no other big team fighting relics apart from that, especially in the face of this horrific emblem from Trixtank. We saw it way back in the early game. I wonder if there's a chance with no sprint this gets a lot of value.
I think it definitely could, because I mean, you look at PandaCat, he's got a small flicker. Horrific will let you catch up to him easily throughout that. CaptainTwig is going to be hard for him to get away from that. I think it's smart.
fineokay takes the World Reaver for Twig. I don't know if that was intentional. As they popped the Frenzy, they wanted to commit on the Variety, but he still had the Blink, which meant they just couldn't lock him down.
That's fine. PBM already has Relic Tagger, so that's a worthwhile trade for Rival. You force the Blink out, you make sure that he respects your damage by using a Frenzy, and yours is going to be up in a minute, his in 2. That's a good opportunity for Rival.
If Variety ends up being their target later on, no Primal or Pyromancer. I think that's why we're seeing Rival get a little bit more aggressive for these kills too right now. Really not even that much farm that's up on the map. They've just now gone backward as it spawns. So see if you can get Variety, force out some relics. If not, everything's okay. The fineokay might be in danger of getting locked down. The roots there, they force the Colossal Fury to come out.
Very smart use of that root, the entangling roots, the cripple from Trixtank. The Jade Emperor makes him do relevant damage in that moment as well. They might try and get a cheeky fire pull going on right now.
I gotta imagine this is more of a bait than an actual commit, but they're really all in on this fire giant. I mean, we're 20 minutes into this game. Maybe it's a little bit later than it feels like at this point. So they drop the objective instead. Just look for some poke on the fineokay.
Good idea by Dignitas. You know fineokay doesn't have vault. It's worth your time.
So at least see if you can bring him down low. Trixtank stuck in the middle of 2. Takes some extra damage. Good damage over the wall from PandaCat as well to bring a couple members low. Trixtank at this point can't really frontline anymore.
Huge stun onto fineokay as soon as he blinked in. That would have been a big slow, and another good banish from Ataraxia. Dignitas able to disengage nicely. That horrific emblem did work in that fight for Trixtank. He hits both frontliners. I think he may have hit a backliner at the same time. And he makes sure that EBM has to back it up. Everyone has to be a little bit more wary of how much damage they're going to take in that moment. And it's, as you said, it's already locked in. No sprints coming out for Team Rival. I think they're going to feel that horrific as this game goes on.
I'm thinking so too, man. It's just not going to be easy to get away from that slow. And then once he upgrades, it matters only getting worse in regard to that relic. We'll see how it is that Rival try and play around that going forward. But so far, they've been happy with this somewhat slower pace. Do you think that Rival have any significant late game advantage? They're going to be going into a Freya, but no one has traditional monster late game hunter or really mage. I guess Merlin kind of the best one in that regard.
Merlin is definitely a really good late game selection, and you feel like the Neith is going to fall off at some point is the real big differentiator. But I'm looking at a Toxic Blade that's likely about to come out for Ataraxia. That's going to cut down the dive, the fineokay quite a bit, but it also does delay Ataraxia's potential best item, which is Hasten Ring. Hasten Ring is what made Freya this absolute monster in lane that was impossible to fight against. She would slow you down, speed herself up. Felt nearly impossible to get away from. I like the idea. I think they need more anti-heal than what they have so far. It's truthfully only the Brawler's Beat Stick. No Contagions, no Pestilence. And Ataraxia is not going to be able to build Divine Ruin super well. I like this Toxic Blade. It's everything Freya wants. A little bit of HP, she doesn't mind that, but attack speed and flat pen is absolutely huge.
Yeah, a little bit of movement speed never hurt anybody either. Now remember, in this late game, there's a big difference in the stakes for these teams. If this does go late, right, and Rival lose a tough one late game, they got 2 more cracks at this. But Dignitas are on edge, man. They have absolutely got to win this, or Dignitas are going home. Remember, this is Ataraxia's potentially last year. He's already told us he doesn't want this one to come crumbling down like this. So there's a lot of extra premium. The Oni Fury melts, but Dignitas do want the fight on the back end.
They've got a root on a Trixtank, but it's CaptainTwig who ends up getting crushed by Ataraxia.
Yeah, he melts. Finally, Dignitas showing us some life here as they find the kill. They've already lost the objective, so they had to at least find one. They're gonna need a little bit more, maybe a tier 1 tower or something on the back end to make this one work.
Trixtank needs to be careful though, can't afford to get caught out. I mean, CaptainTwig, no magical defense whatsoever. Level 19 Freya, good night. You've got no shot in that matchup. He just needs to be wary of where Ataraxia is at all times.
Twig getting punished. PandaCat in trouble here too. This is starting to become a bit of a nightmare. He does survive the damage way longer than you might have thought. Gets some backup from fineokay as well. But that means Trixtank is free to do the dive. In comes QvoFred. They've left PandaCat with no health, and Qvo melts him.
Now Arkkyl is back, and he's got to put some damage out. Qvo in a bad spot.
But it's going to be fineokay continuing to pressure with this Colossal Fury. Nothing like that hastened Susano, but he cleans up QvoFred anyway. Arkkyl finds Trixtank in the back line, and they might run a little bit more, but Ataraxia continues the train with the banishes. The pillar slows variety down.
No there for PBM, but the knockup, the slow, the Desert Fury. Arkyl's got 3 in a row.
Wow, they turned that one around. If you're going to bait PandaCat for 3, then all right, then every single time. Team Rival take that fight back from the trenches. They were in trouble, and now they might have a chance to threaten the FG. They need PandaCat. He's a lot of damage on this objective, but Arkkyl can do a lot too.
I mean, you've got the upgraded Frenzy ready to go for PBM, and what, 2 backliners going to stop you? Ataraxia's got to go big.
He's going to give it a try here, finds the 2-man banish, but at this point, he might give his life away. Valkyrie's discretion for the steal, but it's not enough. Rival secure the objective over Team Dignitas, and now they want Ataraxia as well. Scarab's blessing allows them to continue to chase. Knock up from Arkkyl, and they put him down.
4-0-1. Wow, Arkkyl, man, going big when it matters most.
Wow.
Everyone came into this World Championship saying the only question marks for Rival are Arkkyl and CaptainTwig.
Yeah.
How have those 2 done so far this set?
Played pretty well.
Played awfully well. They have been huge cornerstones for this Rival team so far. And what was an absolute deadlock the first 23.5 minutes. Starting to feel the crowd getting behind a Rival once again. The momentum's on their side.
And it's tough, man, because Dignitas, I think, had the correct read that there was weakness in Rival on that left-hand side fight underneath that tier 1 tower. But PandaCat bought so much time, even though he ends up dying. fineokay is clearly doing tons of damage on this Vamana at this point, too. They bring that one back, man. That was going to be a wreck for them in left, but they salvage it.
And now they've got 5 members of the Fire Giant. Even though PandaCat wasn't there for the fight, he still was alive in time for the buff. Arkkyl is a huge momentum player, and he's got all the momentum in the world. He's against Blood Forge shield after Blood Forge shield. And there's a lot of gold left on the map. There were 5 towers up when this siege starts. I don't know if there's going to be a single one when it finishes.
They should be able to shred them through. You got to wonder if they're starting to feel the heat under the seats over there for Dignitas now. Their chances at a World Championship starting to fall away as Team Rival continue to pressure. But Dig, showing some face here around this tier 2. Maybe they want to fight.
Maybe, but Hurriwind already used the ultimate on a full health Vamana who has ult. I don't know.
fineokay blinks right to the back line, finds the knockup, and Ataraxia is the target. He does get to the sky with the Valkyrie's discretion, but fineokay is still waiting for him when he lands. Push everybody back, and that's a free tier 2.
Perfect initiation, but Rival not going for mid tier 2. They might try their hand at a Phoenix.
They really do, because QvoFred's not even here for this fight. He's way over by the tier 2 in mid. He might have a decent flank if they don't know. Variety moves in. QvoFred finds the knockup. PandaCat has the Aegis. PandaCat repositions Arkkyl. Puts QvoFred in a great bullet. Trixtank makes out
Arkkyl's already got 2, but Ataraxia able to put some good damage in. Twig still wants to keep it going. PBM with another
Hurriwind pulled back in. That's it for him. Variety low. Ataraxia all the way back at base. And in comes the teleport. fineokay got an extra life as he threatens the left side Phoenix.
Right back at it again. Left side Phoenix toasted with ease. Are they going to try and send him home now?
I think that they are here, Aggro. Variety and Ataraxia, all that are going to be able to keep Team Dignitas stays alive. Variety makes his way to Arkkyl. PandaCat low as well. Variety finds a double kill, but fineokay still pushing. I don't think Rival can do it.
No, they can't.
Him out.
They can't. Variety does too much on the signature. Arthur almost.
Oh, man.
With that triple kill. And that's a huge defense for Team Dignitas.
How many times, Aggro, how many times have we seen Variety pull off these heroics on this pick here with the King Arthur? It's something he seems to do like a rabbit out of a hat, man.
Huge play by him, but a bit of a misplay, I think, by Rival. PandaCat and Arkkyl is a little bit too close together. It felt like Rival grouped up a little bit too much, and that's the natural feeling. We're death balling onto the Titan. Let's just group up and make sure that we don't get hit by it too much and just kill the Titan, focus everything on that. But Variety just is gonna punish you for that, man. Too much AoE damage on the King Arthur. Huge play by Dignitas, and even though it feels like Rival was just about to end, because they were, it's only a 5K lead.
Yeah, it's not huge.
And now the Phoenix on the left side being down is big. The Fire Giant's falling off Rival. You can push this out. You can make a potential defense.
Now remember, that is potentially a season-saving play there from Variety to keep them alive. I know it's not the best chances, but they are absolutely still in this game. They got to hold on, though. Rival's Fire Giant's falling off. The Fire Giant himself will be back up 45 seconds, and that's where this fight's going to happen. Left side Phoenix is down. Can Dignitas come out and contest, or are they in defense?
I mean, this isn't an enhanced Fire Giant, so the stakes aren't quite as high. But your defensive composition isn't nearly as good as it was in games 1 or 2. You don't have that Kukulkan on your side. Dignitas just hasn't won an outright fight all day.
Yeah.
I don't know what their winning fight looks like at this point. That's the real problem. Hurriwind has been a non-factor on this Neith. He's got a lot of player damage, so he's been doing some amount of poke damage. But I feel like the all-in potential for Rival, or for Dignitas rather, doesn't even come close to matching that of Rival.
I mean, QvoFred had almost a perfect flank, right? He got to the back line, PandaCat and Arkkyl in his sights. The problem is no one else can get back there all game long. So all these relics are still up. Flicker is still up. Everyone repositions, but that's in the past. Right here, right now, Fire Giant starting up here for Team Rival. Look at the damage on the Ataraxia. fineokay blinks in. Come on back down, buddy. No way you're making it back out. fineokay puts an exclamation point on it by taking care of Ataraxia.
Huge res. QvoFred still putting out a lot of damage, but Arkyl's already taking care of Trixtank.
And Variety's low in middle lane. Execute not quite there from CaptainTwig, but I don't think he's done. Arkkyl gets the kill. QvoFred and Hurriwind now, the ones that gotta find some heroics.
Looks like it's gonna be the tier 2 tower. Just make sure this Titan is a little bit more vulnerable. Question is, do Rival siege past this Phoenix and go for the Titan right now?
QvoFred again on that backline dive, blinks in, knock up, but he can't find anybody. In fact, he's the one who's low. CaptainTwig finds one more. Hurriwind pulls back in, finds himself a double though. PolarBearMike's out, but PandaCat Arkkyl still up at the Dia side. And Rival, they need minions, but that should be
got it.
Fafnir taking the finals on the 3-0.
Your number 1 seed, Team Rival, still undefeated here at the SMITE World Championship.
That is nuts.
Has not dropped a game. Dignitas just took him a little bit too long to adjust. That game 3 is a little bit more what I was expecting all set long. But Dig thrown off by this early aggression from PBM and the rest of Rival. An incredible performance from Team Dignitas, just not enough.
It just really wasn't, man. And everybody on Rival stepped up in this game here, Aggro. CaptainTwig playing well on the Habwa and the Achilles. How about PolarBearMike getting into a rhythm in this game, showing you why he's one of the best that's ever played it. Everybody here on this team in purple stepped up. And Dignitas weren't enough. Sanguine weren't enough. Who is going to be enough for this team?
It's either going to be SK or Renegades, or it's going to be nobody.
Yeah.
That's all that's left between PBM and a second World Championship. But man, I mean, what a journey it's been for this team. They look red hot. They're the #1 seed. They're feeling really good after a great start to the season, and then ultimately just start to lose a little bit of that momentum. MSI, that loss to Armada, puts a chink in the armor. You don't know exactly how strong this team is when it comes to the moments that matter most. I think we've gotten our answer. This team has clutched up. They've looked great towards this World Championship season, and that little bit of time, they look prepped after watching placements. They look locked in. And I think that either SK or Renegades, whoever they play against, has their work cut out for them.
It's going to be tough, man. And how much more work do PandaCat and PBM have to do as a duo? I mean, we got a lot here. Bear and Jeff Hindler, right? Quvo and Trixtank. All these groupings, they talk about their success. But over the last 3 years, I don't think there's a better 2 players than those 2 guys. The Season 4 win, best North America team in Season 5, and then here again, the best team all year. I think at this point, man, we can say they're the best 2.
I can't help but agree, man. These 2 are going to put their names in the history books regardless of the outcome of this week. But I do want to take a moment. I mean, we talked about the stakes for Team Dignitas and what this was going to mean.
Yeah.
Ataraxia has had an incredible career.
Yeah.
He deserves all the credit in the world. I know this isn't the way he wanted to go out, but what a performance. This is give it up for an incredible career for Ataraxia, man. I mean, he is an all-time player, a Hall of Famer in every sense of the word.
And you can tell what it means to him, man. Every time I've talked to Neith leading up to this event, he's been a confident man. He knows that this is a team that was capable of winning worlds, and they came up short up against a rival team that looks like world beaters right now. It's hard to hear it and accept it, I think, right now, but there's nothing to feel bad about here, I think, in this loss. This Dignitas team came out, fought hard, just ran into a better squad.
Rival they're clicking. They really are. Energy is there. They're in the zone. When Mike is this locked in, they look nearly unbeatable. Every team has had high highs and low lows so far this year. I don't think any team has looked as high as Rivals High has been. They are the high water mark, and we saw it here today.
Well, good luck, SK and Renegades. Whoever wins tonight, that is your reward. But I can't think of a man that I want to hear more from than PolarBearMike right now. Bart is standing by with PBM for the interview.
Hey there, SMITE fans. Team Rival with a 3-0 sweep. Welcome to the stage. Any PolarBearMike fans out there in the audience? Just a few. All right, Mike, so 3-0 sweep. Huge game coming out of the dual lane in that last game there. You guys are looking forward to this next set. Tell me about what's coming up tomorrow. How are you guys preparing, and what are you watching and looking for in this next set?
Just playing our own game and playing confident and getting ready to watch the second place match coming up next.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as you guys are going to go take this thing home, think it through, look forward to the finals. Everyone here is excited. Anything you got to say to all your fans that are out here to support you?
Just thank you to everybody cheering. We love it hearing it on the crowd to give us so much momentum, and we're going to go win a nice little championship tomorrow, I think. It'll be fun.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear. So, Mike, we've all been, amazed with your leadership, bringing this team here, once again, making it to the finals. Everyone's so proud of you. The whole squad's out for you. I think that as you think about taking this rival jersey, going to the finals, what are you looking to really instill into the boys as you guys get onto the stage on Sunday?
Honestly, I just want everyone to play like themselves. We've been doing all the work all year, so we've got everything it takes. And it was a few years before NA won a world championship. Before we did it, we broke that curse, and Rivals finished second 2 years in a row now. And we're gonna break another curse, and it'll be fun.
Well, good news is you doing you has been really successful so far, so I hope you guys continue to do it. Congratulations, buddy. We'll see you tomorrow. We're gonna go to a quick break, guys. We'll be right back with the next set.